Welcome to the Tenant Podcast. My name is Todd Pearson here in Lakewood, Colorado, here with my good friend, Wes Brown.
Hello, everybody.
Wes is in Rapid City, South Dakota. And today I'm very excited to talk with our next guest. She's been on my radar for a number of years. Now that we have this podcast, I have the ability to talk to some of these folks that, unless we cross paths, I probably wouldn't get the opportunity to talk to. So today we have Lisa Siciliano. Did I pronounce your name right?
Good job.
That's one of my big pet peeves, and usually I'm pretty good, but and I didn't ask you pre-podcast.
That was pretty good.
So anyway, good.
It's not as hard as it sounds.
As it looks.
Exactly. They see a lot of eyes and they get all scared.
And I'm so visual. Like you could tell me your name and it doesn't, like the auditory part doesn't work in my brain. Yeah. So I have to actually like see it and then say it in my own head a few times.
And it's really just Sicilian with an O on it. So
yeah. Good Italian name.
Yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to be in Italy right now, actually. How crazy is that?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be doing my first photo tour in Tuscany, where I was going to teach people photography and kind of tie it into a family vacation for my daughter's graduation. So,
oh my God,
I'm supposed to be teaching on the Tuscan hillside as we speak. But this
would be crushing.
Almost as good. It's
wow, that's crushing. Yeah, not to be able to go.
That sounds wonderful.
Did you just postpone it and you're able to?
I hope so. I hope so. We had gotten right to the step where we were going to start collecting money. So I'm glad that we didn't do that yet, because that would have been much more of a hassle. And I actually just today got my confirmation from the airline that they're going to give me my money back. So
nice.
Hopefully next year. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, because I had thought I had come up with this great new way to make revenue and travel and teach people photography, and it wasn't the right time.
Well, that's a good way to do it, though, doing workshops. So
exactly.
the people like somebody like me, I can sign up for the workshop and then I would pay you for it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like a residence kind of thing. It's
we're doing it for like more people who just have it as a hobby, for now, and just kind of like finding different cool spots around the world. And I do a lot of street type photography. And as you probably know, I shoot film. And so hoping to get some film shooters out there that want to learn how to do it the old fashioned way.
No, that's nice. Yeah. I love it.
So let's talk a little bit about your history. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
I was born in Youngstown, Ohio in 1968, the volatile year. And I grew up there. I went to Kent State, graduated from Kent State in the early 90s. And then I moved to New Orleans briefly, about 9 or 10 months. I made it down there. I loved New Orleans, but it was super dangerous and scary for a young girl in her early 20s to be by herself down there at the time. So I never really connected with anyone or anything down there. I wasn't a photographer yet. I shot 2 little disposable cameras when I lived in New Orleans, and that was pretty much it. I moved to Boulder in early 92, and I started working at the Fox Theater that same year.
Right on. So I got to interject just real quick before I ask my next question. I can't disappoint my wife, because I always tell her everything great comes from Ohio.
Is she from Ohio?
I was actually born in Ohio. And
really? Where?
Yeah, so I was born in Akron, Ohio, but most of my family is from Mount Vernon,
Ohio. That's so funny. I spent time in Akron. I don't know how old you are. I'm assuming maybe around my age.
I am, yeah.
I don't want to offend you.
No, you're not going to offend me.
But I used to hang out at the Daily Double in Akron when I was going to Kent State. So I would go there sometimes to hang out and see rock bands. So, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and Kent State just had that anniversary of the shooting.
Yeah,
that was just this week, right? Or last week?
It was just this week, May 4th. Yeah. May 4th, so it was 50 years, which is crazy, because when I was there, it was only the 20 year, which seemed so long, but now that seems like nothing,
Right. Yeah.
So Lisa, growing up, were you a really artistic kid?
I had a camera. I mean, the place I grew up and the way I grew up it wasn't really catering towards art. You know, it was like everyone did sports and you had to do sports, and myself included did sports. So there wasn't really a big artistic community there at the time, but I did really love photography and music. And I got a camera when I was 10 and started, putting it on the timer and messing with it and taking pictures with it. So I did always love it. It just wasn't something that I thought I'd ever be able to actually do for a living, And I loved music too. I would go to the library and check out Led Zeppelin records when I was like 11 years old. So there was always that connection, but it just wasn't something you did at the time and the place.
Okay, sure. So I know you've told this story a million times in other articles and interviews and stuff, but give us kind of the lowdown on how this all came about, that this path that you decided to, that you took and became
so accidental and random. I mean, I kind of don't make plans. I've always kind of just lived my life just kind of winging it and feeling it. And if it feels right, then I kind of do it. I mean, that's how I moved to Boulder. I've never been to Boulder. I didn't know anyone in Boulder. Same with New Orleans. I just kind of got in my car and drove there because it seemed like a good thing to do. So it was sort of like that with the photography too. I was working at the Fox Theater and I always felt like this creative person and didn't really have anywhere to channel that. My husband was a musician at the time. He still is, but he was an active musician back then. And my neighbor was selling a little 35 millimeter camera, Pentax K1000, and I bought it and I started bringing it to shows with me. I would waitress and I would waitress the whole show, and I'd keep my camera up on the bar. I'd jump up there at the end and I would grab it and go down and shoot photos. And I at the time, there was not really any photo passes or restrictions or anything like that. It's changed a lot in the 20 some years that I've been doing it, 25 years, I guess, 24 years. And I would just grab my camera and I would go down and shoot photos. And a lot of those photos are still in my refrigerator on rolls of film that I never developed. But once in a while, I would develop one and I would be like, oh, wow, this looks like a real photo. So within a year, I was just taking photos at the Fox, and my mother-in-law, she was working at a magazine in New Jersey at the time. And Metallica was coming and they didn't have anyone to shoot photos for Metallica, and she lived in New Jersey. And I was like, what are the chances of me getting to shoot some photos for this when I live in Colorado? But I'm like, let's just try it. So she tried to get me in the shoot and I got in, shot this killer photo of James Hetfield, sent it to the guy down at Red Rocks. He called me down and pretty much hired me on the spot, which was kind of crazy because I really wasn't that experienced at the time. So I was like, oh my God, I got to learn my craft really, really quick, which I did. First show I shot for Red Rocks as a house photographer was Ani DeFranco, and my boss, I still have it in my journal. He wrote me, his name was Jay Roybal, still a very good friend of mine, wrote me and was like, that was one of the best shot shows that anyone's ever shot for me. And I'm like, oh crap, like I have no idea what I did that he liked, So I was like overthinking it. But then I just kind of learned on the job, and that was, the rest is history, as they say.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy.
And so even with the advent of digital kind of taking over the photo industry, you never felt the desire to change to shooting digitally these
well, that's an interesting story. So when I shoot, my photography career has gone into a million different directions since then, even though rock is still my first love. And I do shoot weddings and events on digital, but the stuff that's my art, like, so my rock and roll photography, I just started a project called Lumin Project, and I just put a site up for that, which I'm super, super proud of. If you haven't checked it out, please do. But it's a kind of like a social justice, social conscious art, documentary style photography. That's all film too. And when I travel, I only bring a film camera. I don't ever take digital backup with me. I'll bring just film camera and film. And it's the same with concerts. I was looking back, I just started a Shopify site to try to get through this whole time period and sell some of my rock prints. And when I was looking back to pull stuff on there, when digital first came out, I was like, oh, I'm going to switch to digital. And I would bring film and digital. And I was just looking back to some of my digital early rock shots, and they're just so bad. If people saw them, they would not believe they were my photos. They're so bad. But that was when first digital photography first started, and I had a little D100, you know, and it sucked, and I was shooting it in like black and white mode, trying to make it look like my other stuff, and it looks so bad. I mean, obviously these days digital's come a long way, and you could get amazing rock photos from digital format, but I wanted to kind of keep what I was doing the same. So even though you could get really amazing digital photos, you can't get digital photos that look just like film photos. It's just a totally different way of seeing light and recording light. And when I'm shooting, I know exactly how the film picks up on stage light, and I can't really translate that to digital. It's totally different. So sometimes people get mad at me and they're, she disses digital, but it has nothing to do with that. You could take good photos with a camera, with a phone these days, you know, you could take amazing photos, but it's just a matter of a different way of recording and seeing, and a different way that they look. And I haven't been able to recreate that with digital, so I just stopped trying. And that was at the that was probably like 2006 that I was like, oh, I'll just switch over to digital. And I remember asking, I don't know if you know the band Rose Hill Drive, but I used to do a lot of their work. I remember asking Daniel, the guitar player, he was a super young kid at the time, and I was just like, what do you think? Do you think these still have the same punch as my film? And he was the only person that was completely honest, and he was like, no, I don't. And I was like, awesome. Thanks for telling me the truth, you know, about that.
Well, I think the thing about film too is like different brands of film have a totally different feel, like Ilford to Kodak. Yeah. So
that's so true. And I'm an Ilford girl. I use HP5. I don't ever use, it's funny because I have this guy who's a fan of mine, and I'll post something on Facebook, and he's always like, love that Kodak Plus. And I'm just always like, no, don't shoot it. You know, he's always like, I love that Kodak Tri-X or whatever it is. I'm like, every time I'm like, okay, well, whatever.
So is it hard to find film nowadays? Do you have to order it from overseas?
People think that, but it's not. I got a little worried a couple of months ago when the pandemic thing started, because Ilford plant shut down because of it. And I'm like, oh shit. So I did order a bunch of it just to make sure that I had it, but I could go right down the street to Mike's and get film. I usually order it online though, because it's much cheaper. So but you could definitely get it. I did get a little worried just recently. I was like, oh my God, if they stop making that, what am I going to do? But I think they're probably back up in business by now, hopefully.
Yeah, I haven't shot film in a long time. And I bought a D100 too, and then a D200. Yeah. So you just keep going and going.
Exactly. It's kind of crazy, like looking back at that compared to, you know, when I shoot events, the digital that I have now compared to that, it was just so noisy and crappy and shitty. And it's amazing to me that like news photographers and stuff were using that, you know, but they were probably using the D1, which I'm sure was like much better, because there's like a D6 right now that I would love to switch to for weddings, but it's like $6,000, you know, so that's not crazy, especially this year with no work and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's hard to rationalize that kind of expense. I've always bought cameras that I know that I could get my return on almost immediately, you know, and not worry about, I don't know, kind of goes back to what you said earlier in the same vein, is that it really doesn't matter the equipment, so to speak. You know, somebody could hand you any camera and you would see it the way you see it. Exactly. And you would find a way to make a great photograph.
Yeah, that's very true. I tell people that all the time when they're starting out and ask for advice. I'm like, just use what you have now and make that as good as possible. And then you can move and find what works for you, you know, because certain cameras aren't going to work for certain people because it's all kind of how you see it. And then you use that. I mean, it's just like a guitar player has a certain guitar that they like. And a Les Paul's not better or worse than a Fender, you know, it's just a matter of what kind of sound you want from it. So.
That's a great analogy.
One thing that's kind of interesting. So I used to live in Denver, and my wife and I moved back to Rapid City, 15 years ago. But anyway, everybody that I knew that was shooting down in Denver shot Nikon, and I shoot Nikon. everybody up here shoots Canon. It's
That's
just
so
like,
funny.
there's very few people that shoot Nikon up here. It's
That's
just bizarre.
interesting.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
what
it's
it
about
is.
50-50 now. When I first started doing concerts, I was kind of in the minority. People were all about the Canon, you know, but that's another thing I tell people. They're like, well, why do you shoot Nikon and not Canon? I'm like, because there happened to be a Nikon camera for sale when I was like transitioning from my K1000 and I happened to buy it. You know, it wasn't like I'm just a girl too. I really think it's so much more of a guy thing, the whole like gear thing, you know, like every wedding I shoot, some uncle comes up to me and wants to talk gear for a half hour. And I'm like, oh God, I don't care. You know, he's just like so into it. I'm just like, I could care less. If you even saw my gear bag, you would laugh. Like all the guys I shoot with make fun of me because it's just all thrown in there. I don't have caps. I don't have backs. It's just all toppled on top of each other. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. That's
well,
funny.
for you, it's a tool. And I think some people like they are there. And I would agree with you in that assessment. It seems to be guys that are really hung up with gear and the latest, greatest.
Yeah, they're into it. And that's, you know, it's like a boy thing. That's their toy. So I get it.
But I think actually in some ways it kind of takes away from the process. Like I like looking at women photographers' work because it gets right to the heart of the subject. It's not overproduced. You know, some of it is like over the top and obviously, you know, overproduced, but as a whole, there's just a different way that women see the world, and they don't get hung up on all the phony baloney shit. I can see that.
And just, as I've gotten older and better and have done it more and more and more, I mean, up until this thing happened, I was shooting like 7 days a week. Like sometimes I would do 2 weddings in a day and then go shoot a show, you know, and I was completely happy doing that. Like I'm so like, right now. But I have gotten so like honed in though. Like I literally will shoot an entire wedding on just 3 lenses, you know, like I just don't take a lot of stuff. If I'm going to shoot a concert, I kind of know what I want in my head and I don't have a lot of stuff with me. I have usually a 50 at a concert and a 70 to 200. And that's pretty much it. You know, if I'm going to a wedding or an event, especially if I'm shooting an event, I shoot with my 50 1.4 and my 85 1.8, and that's it. You know, I don't have like a ton of stuff because I feel like that confuses me. And that's another thing when I was younger in the field, not younger as a person, but younger when I first started doing it about 10 years in, I would have so much stuff. And I was constantly, I remember my husband came to assist me with a wedding probably about 15 years ago. And he was just like, what are you doing? Like, I was constantly like, this lens on, that lens on, this, you know, it was like constantly changing stuff. And when you're doing that, you're not really watching what happens, you know, you're more into like, oh, maybe I should do this one and maybe I should do that one. But now I don't second guess myself. And that just comes from experience and doing it so much that I know kind of what I want and what tool I need. Whereas before it was more experimenting, like, oh, should I grab this one? Oh, maybe this will look better like this. And now that's kind of all, you know, second nature.
Experience counts.
It does.
And once you have that foundation, you know, it frees up your mind just to do.
Yeah, then you could just create and you don't have to think about it. I mean, even just 10 years ago, it was so much thought going into like the technical part of it. It was like, oh my God, what if, you know, but now I don't even think about that at all because you do it. It's just like whatever you both do for your main living, I would hope you know it now. It's down to a T, you know, like my husband's a musician, but he's also a carpenter and he knows what tool comes, and then you don't have to think about that. The first 10 years of my career, at least 10 years, was just like, oh God, do I have the right tool? The light, is the light right? Blah, blah, blah. But now that's just, it just doesn't even, I'm a kind of shoot from the hip photographer too. Like I like to kind of just see it and feel it and do it. My friend called me the other day and she's like, I have a way you can make money during this whole quarantine thing. And I'm like, what? She's like, teach people one-on-one photography. And I'm like, I can't teach. I don't like see it like that. And she's like, well, I was trying to take a picture of this fruit on my table and I didn't know how to light it. I'm like, you just light it however you see it that looks best to you, you know? She's like, but certainly you must have a, you know, formula or something. I was like, no, I just see it and whatever I like when I see it is how I shoot it. So kind of how I roll.
Yeah.
Talk to us, because a lot of our listeners, unless they are a photographer or have had the opportunity to shoot a show or a concert, what is that experience like? Kind of walk us through what that is, because I think you've probably, lots of people have gone to shows and they see the pit and they see the photographers in the pit. Kind of talk to us about the logistics of that whole thing and how that works.
So much fun, and I miss it so much. I cannot wait to go shoot another show. I shot like 3 the week I knew before this was going to happen. I shot as much as I could that week, even people that I normally wouldn't go shoot. Like I went and shot Roseanne Cash, and I went and shot some guy I never even heard of at the Fox because I just had a feeling this was going to happen. But it's just super, super, super exciting. Like, it's that moment before the music starts, especially big shows, when you're at, like, this picture behind me is one of my very first pictures is Marilyn Manson. And that's why I keep it up here on my bed, because it was one of my very, very first big shows. And it was at Mile High Music Fest. And you get walked up to the front, which, like that's every kid's fantasy, getting like escorted to the front. You get to go back through the tunnels of Pepsi Center or Mile High, where you get to see everybody's gear and stuff. It's super, super exciting. And then you're sitting there waiting for the curtain to drop or the lights to go down or whatever it is. And you only have a very short amount of time to be up there. So it's anywhere between 1 and 3 songs. I mean, there is sometimes like Stevie Wonder, I'm sure you've heard this story if you've heard my interviews, but Stevie Wonder, like you shoot for 60 seconds, which is insane. It was literally 60 seconds and we couldn't even get him walking to his piano. You had to wait until he sat down and put his hands on the keys and then you could shoot. And they literally timed us 60 seconds and you were out. So, Marilyn Manson was one song and then another concert. He was the whole concert. He was like, you could shoot 3 from here and then you could shoot the rest from the house. So you kind of never know what you're going to get. You never know what lighting you're going to get. You never know what mood the people are going to be in. Like I'm a huge Heart fan and I couldn't wait to shoot Heart. And they came to Red Rocks and there was this huge hailstorm. It was a couple years ago. Huge hailstorm. And we all had to sit there for like an hour and a half. And then finally they decided to do the show. You could tell they did not want to be there. I was so bummed out. But when you're up that close and you're interacting with them through your lens, you kind of see what's going on that the average person can't see. You could see if there's a little tiff between the band. You could see if they're really into it. You could see if they're going back to get oxygen. So it's exciting and it's fun. And shooting with film for me is really, really fun because I don't have a ton of film when I come in. I have like a limited amount. So I'm really, really looking for the shot. I'm not, and because I'm lucky for the people that I shoot with, I don't have to shoot in a sort of news style. Like I don't have to shoot the crowd. I don't have to make sure I get the whole band. I don't have to get like, the trumpet player that's on for 2 songs, unless I see something visually. Like I'm able to kind of shoot the way I see it. And I feel super, super grateful that I've found venues and like I shoot for the Colorado Sound. They're awesome. They're just like, go make your art, however you see it, which is super, super, super grateful that can happen because that's not always the case. Like I won't shoot if somebody's like, you got to shoot digital, you have to shoot color, you have to make sure you shoot wide. That's just not my thing. So I kind of see it as an artistic approach. And for me, I'm just looking for that one shot that people are going to remember, when they look at my work, like, oh, I know that shot, like the BB King praying hand shot that I'm sure you've probably seen. Like people think of that and think of me. I'm just trying to do that one picture that's going to be like amazing.
When do you think they switched that from in concerts where you get 1 song or 3 songs or whatever? Because I would imagine in the early days it wasn't that way.
There was no photo pass or anything. I think just in the days of paparazzi and online social media and digital cameras and phone cameras. It's kind of ironic though, because it's like sometimes we could get 2 photos or 2 songs, but then people get to shoot the whole show with their phone camera, and it looks like shit and they don't care. Like it's kind of weird. It's like, wouldn't you want a good photo of yourself instead of a crappy photo of yourself? But as the years go by, it's gotten stricter and stricter. This last year, it seemed to almost loosen up a little bit. When the Mission Ballroom opened here in Denver, it had that vibe of the Fox back in the early days. I got to go shoot Mossy Washington and Herbie Hancock there, Steve Miller Band. They just had this like killer lineup. Ben Harper was there, George Clinton and P-Funk. And a lot of them, we didn't even have to stop shooting at the, first couple songs. So it definitely had that kind of retro back to basics vibe that I absolutely loved. And hopefully when things get going again, if you guys haven't checked out, Todd, have you checked out the Mission?
Yeah. My wife and I went there into January, one of the last live shows that we got to see. And it was Lucero, Nikki Lane, and Orville Peck.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great show.
Yeah,
it's a cool venue.
It definitely has that feeling that it had for me when I first started working at the Fox, the more sort of laid back, chill. But back in the way back day before my time, in the 70s and 80s, my friend Larry Holst is a big photographer around here. He's in his 70s and he got to shoot, the Last Waltz and all that kind of stuff. And it was just kind of like, bring your camera and shoot, which is just like, oh, that would be heaven. There's a lot more photographers too. I mean, when I started, it was just a very core handful of us and we'd be at every show and you knew everybody. But now there's like people I've never seen before that show up and, more power to them. The more the merrier. It's fine. I don't care. There's definitely people who are like, oh, all these new people. And it's like, well, we were all new people at some point. But
Right.
A lot of people think they're going to do it for a living and then they do it for a little while, like the turnover is like huge these days. So
yeah,
it's a lot different.
It's a lot of competition and a lot of, like you said, a lot of people doing it. I love shooting shows, but I haven't shot one in a while. I was just trying to think of the last show I shot. Actually, I snuck my camera. I didn't sneak. They didn't say anything about it. I just walked in. I got to shoot Last in Line. Are you familiar with those guys? So they're like Dio's old band, essentially.
Nice.
And they're out at the Buffalo Rose.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's another answer to Wes's question is like different venues have different sort of feels, and will let you do different things. And different artists, even when they're playing in different venues, are different. Like Scott Weiland, I shot him at the Gothic. I shot him with Velvet Revolver, and it was super controlled and tight and first three and in and out. I shot him there, and there was no rules at all. It was just like, do whatever you want to do as long as you want. Nobody else was shooting it. Same with Chrissy Hines. She played at the Bluebird, somewhere like that. And it was the same thing. There was no other photographers. There were no rules. You could shoot the whole show. So people are different depending on what different venue they're in. If they're doing their solo thing, I did Tom York down at Paramount. It was his solo thing, him compared to Radiohead, which I couldn't even get a pass for. It's like, it's interesting to me because it's also different depending on what they're doing. And really, I just want a picture of Tom York. So it doesn't matter to me if he's playing with Radiohead or if Scott Weiland's with Velvet Revolver, or if he's by himself. Well, he's not anywhere now, sadly, but it's different depending on the venue and if the band's solo or doing some off project. It's all very interesting to me because it doesn't really make sense at all.
Do you ever wish that you got the last 3 songs instead of the first 3 songs?
Yeah, because when I have the whole show, those are like usually the best photos. There are bands that bring you out just randomly in the middle, like 9 Inch Nails. We did like 7, 8, 9, which was kind of
That'd be cool because then they're in their groove at that time.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of chaotic because we had to do it from the soundboard at Red Rocks and they didn't bring us in until song 7 and it was from the soundboard. So we all had like giant lenses and we're like, have, strobe lights going at us and we're trying to get through the crowd and everybody's like, you assholes, we're like, excuse us, like with our things. So it kind of sucked, but it is what it is. You kind of have to learn to roll with it. And I think teaching myself photography at concerts is what's made me such a better photographer because you really don't know what you're getting thrown into and you have such a limited amount of time. And with film, you have such a limited amount of resource. So you really have to be on top of your game to make it good and to make it work.
One of the most interesting, I haven't shot a ton of concerts, but one was the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. And I was actually on stage with them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was just a fluke. And they were just super gracious about it.
Yeah,
and we had some great shots.
Really nice guys. My friend Michael P., he works with them. He's like a sound guy and he's done their sound forever. And they just seem like the nicest guys. Yeah. And being on stage, when you feel like you're part of the band, like I love when I get hired by bands and I can be on stage and kind of be with them and just, kind of like a team. That feels really good.
Yeah, that was fun.
When did you shoot them? Is that recent or a long time ago?
Oh, no, this would have been like in 2007, maybe.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
They're still going though.
Yeah, still plugging away, I think.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that was kind of a weird thing. All the other ones I was out front or whatever.
How did that happen? Like, did you just get lucky or?
It was kind of funny because I always wear a photographer's vest. And so I didn't even have a backstage pass or anything. Well, the first day I didn't have a backstage pass, and somebody else was Earl Brown, who was in Deadwood. And so they were doing this Deadwood Wild Bill days. Anyway, the guitar player for him actually bought a new guitar, and he saw me shooting, and he said, I want you to come tomorrow and I'll get you a backstage pass. And I want you to shoot me with the guitar, and you can do. So then I had the backstage pass, and I was up front, and I just ended up jumping up on stage, and nobody said anything. And, they kind of played with it, and everything.
Yeah,
so it was kind of fun.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was just total fluke, wearing a photographer's vest. In places that you normally wouldn't go.
Exactly.
Because they think you're professional or whatever. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, sometimes it's just looking the part and acting like you should be there.
Exactly. Which is probably a lot easier for you guys than me. So my very first show at Red Rocks, I got taken up to the office because they didn't believe I was the house photographer. The second one was Chris Isaac, and they thought I was his girlfriend. So it definitely was, it's definitely different being a girl in a sundress that does not look like the part,
Yeah, that's funny.
Sometimes even if and I have cards that have my photos on them. I have like a variety, and I made these really high quality cards, and there's like 10 different rock stars on them. And I cannot tell you how many times I've handed always a guy one of my cards, and they said, did you take this photo? And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna punch you if you say that to me one more time. But it happens to me, I'm not even kidding you, 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you say that to me? Like, I don't understand why you would say that to me.
Guys are dumb.
And definitely would come back, well, it's really good. And it's like, okay, thank you. But would you say that to Wes or Todd?
Right.
Probably not,
Right.
You learn a lot about, gender and that type of thing in this business as well. And it's gotten better. I mean, there's definitely more girls shooting. When I first started doing it, there was nobody else but me up there. And my friend Scott Nickerson took me under his wing. He was working for the Rocky Mountain News at the time. So it was good to have like one of the big guys up there that kind of was, behind me and had my back. It made it a lot easier.
Even today, I would say there's percentage-wise, there's not a ton of women that's doing what you're doing. I mean, they're just not. No. I mean, there's a lot of women doing photography, but
they do mostly kids or weddings and that type of thing.
At least that's my perception, just from looking. And I look at a lot of stuff. So
yeah, it's definitely true. It's interesting.
You develop all your black and white too, huh?
Sometimes. My dark room is down right now because we're remodeling our basement, and I have someone that does it for me it's the same person that does it all the time. Okay. So she knows my work and knows how my work is supposed to look, which is another thing when I look back at some of my old stuff. I would take it where they would do it on a machine instead of by hand. And I'm just like, oh God, like the shot could have looked so much better. So she does it in a tank, by hand, and knows exactly how I like my stuff to look. And I can push my stuff, which I push most of my concert film. I could even push it like 2.5 stops and she can pull it out. So I can go into a very, very dark venue and still get some really cool stuff. And that's one of the things that I think digital does not lend itself to, especially with the new LED lights that they're using in a lot of these smaller clubs. Because if it's really dim and you have that red on someone's face, it's just going to take out, and then that's why you see a lot of people turning it into black and white, because they're trying to like fix that, but it's still the digital itself. It just does not lend itself very well to LED lighting, whereas film, it's not really affected by it very much at all. And especially if you push your film, it really, really gives it a huge, huge tonal range.
You just saying that reminds me back in the day, because I totally forgot about that, because I haven't shot film in decades. So yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and the Ilford that I use is meant to be pushed, so it really lends itself to that. So hopefully I have a new dark room coming up hopefully soon. It's painted the dark color, so that's one step, but we have to get our home inspection first because we don't want to tell them it's a dark room because then they might make another inspection. It's such a pain in the ass remodeling a basement in Boulder. So it's like, this is a closet for now. And then as soon as we get the inspection, then it will mysteriously turn into a dark room like I used to have.
So is your processor, does she live in Boulder or?
She comes, we meet each other sometimes. I feel like we're doing a drug deal sometimes because we'll meet each other in a parking lot somewhere and I'll hand her a baggie and she'll hand me money and it's kind of weird. I'm like, I wonder what people think that we're doing.
Somebody's taking pictures of you.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
Pretty hilarious.
So how did you find her? Because I mean, it's hard to find people that process film now. Yeah,
she was just a fan of the work and we just happened to meet and someone said, you should talk to this person, that she's really good at what she does. And she is. So yeah, it's good to have, it really does. I don't think people realize the different components to go into film. Like you said, it's the film choice, it's the person shooting the film, and it's the developing of the film. And you get something developed improperly and you're screwed. My daughter, she's 18. She's just graduating high school and she's a great shooter. And also she's really good at darkroom stuff. So I trust her with my film as well once the darkroom gets up and running. But, one little slip up and you just lost, what could be a really great photo. That's kind of scary. But at the same time, once you have that photo, I feel a lot more comfortable having it on negative, because it's there and it stood the test of time and that it's on that negative. And I get my stuff scanned now, which is another thing that I so wish I would have done back in the early days, because now I have a lot of stuff that I don't have scanned. But what I do when I print really, really huge things, because I do print all my stuff in the darkroom, but when I print really, really big stuff, which I've been doing a lot lately, like 4 foot by 6 foot, I go get it drum scanned at Photocraft, and they do, like each little minute dot, and that way I could blow it up really, really huge. And people are shocked because there's not much grain at all, if any. I had this huge Gene Simmons photo that was just massive, and it was just super, super sharp because of the way that they scan it these days.
Yeah, those drum scanners are amazing. The resolution you can get off those.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's like $80 a scan. That's why when people ask me for something bigger than I could print here, I'm like, are you sure you want it that big? Because it's going to add an extra cost. But then once I have the scan, then I can print it as many times as I want, which is really cool.
Right.
So all of my main things, like the BB and the Iggy and all that stuff, I have drum scans of, and that way I can print them really huge.
We talked about that you get a limited amount of time, and it's kind of become more restrictive over time. Tell our audience that might not have ever experienced what you do, the limitations and what it's like and what's proper etiquette when you're shooting a concert.
That's kind of gone by the wayside that's one thing about a lot of people in the pit, because I've seen people hold up selfie sticks with their camera on not selfie sticks, but a little monopod type thing, in front of the stage, or put their camera up in front. Those are things you do not want to do if you go in.
That's bullshit. I haven't seen that, but that's bullshit.
Right. It's crazy. There's a crowd behind you, and there's other people shooting around with you, or the elbows, or you just have to be very aware of a lot of things in a really small space in a really small amount of time, and realize that there's other people around you. I was shooting Green Day a couple years ago, and he went to jump right off the end of the riser into the crowd, and someone that was in the pit put their camera up right in front of me. I was like, oh. But never do that. But it's interesting because it's very different too if you're shooting in a pit compared to if you're shooting somewhere like the Ogden, where you have to kind of maneuver in the crowd and shoot from the crowd. That's a whole other type of etiquette, because those people paid to see that band. And even though I'm there doing a job, I'm not going to just power my way in. I see photographers doing that, and everybody could do whatever they want to do. I'm not that person. I would never just power through. What I do is the kind of stand there, say hi, smile, make sure they see my gear, be really nice to everyone. And then they kind of just scoot you up. By the time the show starts, you're, up by the stage and you have your 3 songs. But I've seen people come in right when the show's starting and then, excuse me. And it's like, oh my God, don't do that. So when you're in the pit, though, you have to be efficient. You don't want to take in a bunch of shit. You don't want to be like knocking into people with your stuff. Like, bring in a small amount. My very first show, I did not know the proper etiquette. I was shooting Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young at Pepsi Center, and I brought this big tripod because I had no idea. I knew we were going to be in the aisle in the back, so I'm setting up this tripod, and Mel she's been there forever, amazing, great lady from Live Nation.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah, Mel Gibson. She's just like, what are you doing? It's like, I was like, what? I had no idea. And all these other photographers are giving me dirty looks, and I'm setting up this big tripod. I learned that right away. You don't do that. You don't keep your flash on top of your camera when you're out there, because that's just one more thing that someone needs to kind of maneuver around. So, it's just kind of common sense, really. But a lot of times people don't have that, especially if they're just starting. They're so gung-ho and they so badly want to get the shot, that they're just running back and forth, even though the person's going to come back to you. They're running back and forth and they're knocking into people, and it is what it is. I'm kind of chill. I don't get into it with anyone, but I have seen photographers get into, squabbles before over that kind of stuff, getting elbowed or getting knocked or, getting in people's shots and that kind of thing. They'll have words with each other, and it's kind of funny, but you just have to know that going in. You're kind of in there for yourself. I mean, the first time I shot The Who at Pepsi Center, I just had a bunch of news guys get right in front of me. I couldn't see shit, but what am I going to do? It's just like, I'm not going to, you just kind of have to make the best of it. It's a really good learning experience for life in general. You take what you're given, you're aware of everybody around you, so you're not the asshole. You work around the assholes and you do your thing.
Well said. I like how you think, and that's the Ohio part of you.
It is, right? I agree.
Just being conscientious and a kind person, and be the best that you possibly can.
You're absolutely right. I always say, like, I'm so glad to live here, but I'm so glad that I grew up there, because you kind of learn, Things definitely were not handed to me there.
Well, and you're given a good sense of
do it nicely.
Yeah, and you're I don't know, the people there are just kind, and you have values, and respect is a big thing, I think.
I agree.
And when you grow up in that environment, you just kind of carry that, with you for the rest of your life. And
I agree. I imagine that South Dakota is very similar.
Yeah, we're pretty polite. We wave at people when we drive by, even though we don't know them.
We're all from the same.
So we're pretty much the same way. We try to be polite and helpful.
Yeah. A lot of people are not. So
yeah.
They just want theirs, It's just like, give me mine and get out of my way. But I just don't roll that way, And I feel like that's one of the reasons that I'm still here after all these years, because I just think if you kind of go that way, it's just not going to work out for you in the long run.
I think the other thing is the attitude of, like, you might get a shot that I'm not going to get, so I want to make sure I get my shot. The really competitive piece, like you're like, you both can't be there at the same time.
Exactly.
It's just like,
and for me, I don't even think of it that way, because I just shoot very differently than a lot of people, and I kind of know what I'm looking for, and they can get a great shot too. I don't care. I mean, it's not going to look like mine because my stuff is mine,
Right.
So it's like, great. I hope everybody gets good shots, because I hate shitty shots. So, we
don't need junk out there. Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you're shooting black and white. I love black and white. And
That's awesome.
and I'm, the old jazz stuff with the smoke and the,
me too. Oh my God.
I
That's
just
like my
love
favorite
that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. That's my all-time favorite stuff. I just think it strips down to the very core of it. And if you've seen my stuff, you know that I kind of like black out everything else around it and kind of shoot it as a portrait on the stage.
Yeah.
And that's something that I learned to do like really early and loved it. So now I've just kind of stuck with it, and I don't give a lot of like context. I kind of try to make it look like a portrait.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love your black and white stuff. That's
Thank
awesome.
You. Thanks.
You can see in your shots, you can see that you contemplate what you're shooting, and from somebody that has shot shows and in the digital realm, I see it all the time. And even though I shoot digital, I don't shoot film anymore. I'm just kind of anticipating that moment. And that's what I can tell that you do as
Absolutely.
well. You're not in there like shotgunning it and shooting, 4,000 frames in the course of 3 songs.
There's times I've taken 10 pictures, honestly, because if it's not something that I need, now it's different if I'm hired by a band, like I shoot for Elephant Revival. I did like all their shows at Red Rocks, and they need content and they're expecting me to give them a bunch of photos at the end. And I bring, a significant amount of film, and I'm always finding something. I shoot it like an event. If I'm being hired for someone, I shoot it like in a context and always trying to find something interesting. But if I'm going to shoot just to make art, it's not always going to be art. Just because somebody famous is standing at a microphone with light on them doesn't mean that shot is a piece of art. And I think that's where, I'm lucky to be shooting for the people that I'm shooting for that are like, go out and create your art and we'll use it, because otherwise I don't have to create something that I'm not seeing, So for me, just because someone's standing there, there's a guy that's famous and he has a mic, that doesn't mean it's an artistic shot. So I kind of know what I'm looking for. And sometimes I don't know. I see it when I'm there, but I know what I don't want. And that's not just something that doesn't say anything, that doesn't feel anything. That's just like a picture of somebody standing with a microphone. It's like, there has to be that connection between like the light, me, and the artist to all happen at once. And then you have a magic photo, like I want something that people are going to like look at and want on their wall and want to look at again and again. Do you know Baron Wolman?
I know the name.
He was the very first photographer for Rolling Stone, and he also was the official photographer for Woodstock. He took this picture of Johnny Cash. I don't know if you could see it.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing, and it wouldn't be the same if it was just Johnny Cash. Like, I think a lot of times when people first start shooting, they're so excited that they're shooting someone famous. So the fact that they have someone famous on their camera, that is the moment. But for me, just because it's someone famous doesn't mean it's a moment. It has to be something that looks cool or different or unique or how I see it. And I have a really weird perception of life, which I think has really helped me in this realm.
You're trying to capture the essence of that moment and that person.
Yeah, the actual feeling of what I'm feeling when I see it and how I see it. And it's going to be different for everybody. But I think when I see a lot of new shooters, they're just like, it's like just hoping to get something, which is great. Because I guess if that's, and then we all do it for different reasons too, like a lot of people are doing it for a totally different reason than I'm doing it or you're doing it or you're doing it. And so that's something that I think everybody needs to know, like, why am I doing it? Why is this important to me? What am I looking for? And that's going to be different for everybody. For me, I need to have something that's amazing. I don't want just some shot of someone. There's people like, I don't show my Stevie Wonder photos ever, and they're fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. They're exposed perfectly. He's smiling. It's Stevie Wonder, but they don't say anything to me. So I don't really put them out there.
I think it's better for you to be selective as an artist. Instead of just throwing all your stuff up there, that you pick this, you select the best ones, because it's going to represent you. And when other people are wanting to go out and hire you, then they're seeing the best,
Exactly. I agree. And it took me a long time even to show them to anybody, because I wanted to just show the ones that were amazing. And I tell, when people ask me for advice, I can't really critique people's work, because I don't like when people do that, because I just feel like if you like it, that's all that matters. A lot of it sucks, but if you think it looks good, then that's great. But the one thing I will tell people is don't show everything, like I don't need to see 100 boring photos. I'll have people like send me, what do you think of this stuff? And I'm going through it. It's like the same photo over and over and over and over. And it's like, okay, show me 2 of those, like take these all back and then give me your 2 best, because you're going to remember 2 amazing photos so much more than you're going to remember 100 mediocre photos,
Absolutely. I totally agree. I love that you still shoot the film and that you shoot black and white, because it has this timeless quality that I just don't think you can still get with digital, even if you can convert it to black and white.
I agree.
There's no, you just can't compare the two.
No, you can't. They're just different. They record it differently, and so it's going to come out differently.
You work for bands, you work for publications, I take it, and then you're the house photographer for a number of venues, or?
Yeah, I was the house photographer at Red Rocks for 10 years, and then they got rid of photographers in 2008 when the economy crashed, and then they transitioned to social media team. So I have...
Oh, I hate that word. Social media team.
Exactly.
I shoot sports sometimes, and when I have to go cover like NBA, of course, all the teams have their own social media team, and they're always like in your way, like obnoxious.
It's different, but that's like what the world wants these days. You know, they want content. And I've heard people say like, oh, we don't care. We just want content. It's like, oh God, that's it. I'm the exact opposite of content. So yeah, I still shoot for the Boulder Theater and Belco. I've been shooting down there at the Colorado Convention Center for 15 years now. We used to have a ton of concerts. We haven't had as many lately, but hopefully that'll change. But we've had like Alicia Keys there and Jeff Beck and Neil Young, and there was a lot of really good concerts there back in the day. So I still shoot for them. And the Colorado Sound, who is the great radio station here in Colorado. They're so amazing and so great to work for. I can't say enough good things about them. They really actually care about the community, and they actually care about music and really take it seriously. So I've been really lucky to be with them for so long.
That's awesome. I think they're one of my favorites, if not my favorite radio station here in Colorado.
They really care, you know, which is really unusual. So they've been there for 3 years now. I've been with them since then. I did their birthday party back in February. They had the Seratones up at Washington's, which is another great club up in Fort Collins. If you haven't been, it's amazing. I wish I lived closer. It was kind of funny because the guy that opened for them, Son Little, this great blues singer, had some sort of flu. And this was like February 29th. And he came out with a mask on, and I got some shots of him with the mask on. And little did I know that that was going to be everything, you know? It was so random and weird. And now I look back at those photos and I'm like, damn, it was the beginning of the end.
So what do you think? Are we going to see live music again soon, or do you think this is going to, or do you think this is going to be, because I've seen different
I've seen horrible articles that say 2022, which I think is just unbelievable to me. I just don't. You'll just see like Harvard professor so-and-so says no live music till 2022. And I'm just like, screw you.
Right.
Like, what are you, why are you saying that? Putting that in people's brains, you know? I definitely think there will be live music. And I've heard some people say there's never going to be live music. And I'm like, what? You know, like when I was in college, my minor was philosophy. And I remember studying plagues. I was really, really interested in that for some reason, probably because I'm a germaphobe and I don't like to get sick. But I was really interested in that. And there's been so many over the history of people. And, you know, we used to have Roman tournaments in Colosseums and whatnot. Like we've always gathered as people, and I don't see that changing. I've heard people say like, oh, we're never going to gather again. We're never going to have concerts again. We're going to have concerts all spaced out. And I'm like, just not human nature. I don't see that happening. You know, people need to dance. They need to be together. They need to touch. They need to be in a space with a common focus. That's just part of being a human. So I think it's going to take time, obviously. I mean, I think even if they opened it up sooner, people are going to be afraid and not go, you know, but it will happen again. There's just no way that it wouldn't. Maybe, you know, that's just wishful thinking, but I just, in my brain and in my heart, it's like, there's no way that we're not going to do what we've always done, because that's such a huge part of being alive, is going to see live music, you know? So we'll see. I mean, it's been hard. I really feel for all my friends who are managing venues. And I work for my friend Kyle. He has a tour bus company and he manages bands. And neither of his things are going, you know, all his tour buses are shut down. He just bought all these new buses and everything was going super well. You know, I mean, just so many people I know are in this business, and we're all just kind of like, crap, you know, what do we do? So I'm really hoping by next year.
Yeah, I think there's way too much money for people just to say we're not doing this anymore. I mean, my cousin. my cousin runs sound for people like Smokey Robertson and that. And, you know, he's in California just hanging out at home, and that he can only go so long. And
I think it will only go so long. Yeah. You know, I just think it'll come to a point where it's like, okay, you know, I'm going to take my chances and get back to life. Like, that's just my personal philosophy, which I know you could get stoned for saying sometimes. It's such a touchy subject. Like, it's become a subject like religion or politics or abortion. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't even you talk about it and you have to be real careful who you're talking to and what you're saying. But I just know, as a human and someone who absolutely loves humanity and the human spirit and connections and feeling and documenting an emotion, that it's going to come back, because that's what being a human being is, you know. Right. It has to, you know.
I've heard him say no more handshakes. We'll never shake hands again. I think that's bull, but nobody has said we'll never hug again. And
I actually just read that.
I just
read an article. It was like hugs are gone forever. It's like, oh my God, dude, I'm going to come hug you in a month if you don't stop saying. I actually wrote this guy an email. He's like some professor at some school, and I wrote him an email. I was so mad. I was like, don't ever say we're not going to hug again. What's wrong with you?
I'm going to come hug you to death.
Seriously. It's like, you know how bad that is for humanity to not hug somebody?
My God.
It's like, I'm Italian, you know? It's like, of course I want to hug people. So we'll see. I think people are just scared right now, and it's something they've never seen before. And, you know, the worst case scenarios are out there, but there'll be music. I can guarantee you we can reconvene next year on this day and talk about all the great concerts that we've seen.
Right. I'm really interested into seeing what's coming down the pike as far as artists, you know, musical art, you know, and writers.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if you've heard the new Stones song.
Oh, it's awesome.
Ghost Town, right?
Yeah, that's so awesome. Good.
And Neil Young has one out that's called Shut It Down. Also very great. They're both about this. But it's like, look, these guys in their 70s are the ones that are coming up with this stuff, saying how we're feeling. Like, I don't know where the young artists are. It's kind of strange to me. It's like, do you think this like 19-year-olds like coming out with this stuff right now? It's weird. It's like, that's interesting. But both of those songs they're great songs.
Live music is the one thing that I'm missing hardcore. My wife and our kids are finally at that age where they're pretty self-sufficient, and most nights they're not going to kill each other while we're gone.
How old are they?
My daughter's 19 and my son is 15.
Oh yeah, practically adults.
And, but yeah, I mean, we've really enjoyed the last, few years going out and seeing live music, a lot and taking advantage of that. And I'm glad we went out on a high note. We got to see Lucas Nelson and The Promise of the Real
at the Boulder Theater.
I actually saw him in Denver.
I shot the one at the Boulder Theater. So good. That was amazing.
They're a phenomenal band.
Yeah, so good.
But yeah, I'm really missing it. I can't wait to.
No, I feel bad. My daughter just graduated. It's her summer before college, and she had all these shows she was going to, and I'm just like, what a horrible year to graduate. And it's funny because she could have graduated in December of 2019. She was one credit short, and I so badly wanted her to do it, but I didn't know why. And now she's like, damn it, I wish I would. What a terrible year to graduate. I tried to tell you. She thought 2020 sounded cool. She was like, it sounds so cool. That would be a better year. And little did we know. So.
Right. Do you feel like the younger generation of bands have that stage presence that the older bands have?
I feel like it's almost over the top. Like, there's a lot of young bands I go see, and I feel like they're trying way too hard. And it just seems, I don't know if it's because I've seen it done from the original people who did it, maybe, but it still seems like a kind of a copy. There's like bands, they're fun to shoot, they're young, they're laying on the floor, they're pounding their chest, like doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but it doesn't seem as real. Like, I've shot Greta Van Fleet. Have you heard of them?
I was just thinking of them.
Yeah, but the guy comes out with the feathers and the shirt and all the proper postures, but it just doesn't seem real to me, and I see that quite a bit with young kids, that it's like they're throwing their guitars and like I said, maybe they are being passionate, maybe they are feeling it, but I don't know, maybe it's because I've seen it before. It doesn't have the same punch as when Jimi Hendrix lit his guitar on fire, maybe they are being real, but It just depends on what kind of genre that you're seeing too. You know, there's like a lot of kind of glam rock coming up now from a lot of young kids. There's a band called Uni that's really, really good from New York. My friend Andrew plays drums with them. And he was like, oh, you want to come down and shoot us at the Boulder Theater? They opened for Claypool Lennon, who's a great band if you've never seen.
Oh, yeah.
But when I got there, I was like, oh, wow, this is like the real deal. And they were very almost like T-Rexy, but it worked. Like it seemed more authentic. I see it a lot of times where it doesn't seem quite as authentic to me. My daughter's a musician and she has the worst stage presence ever because she's like very shy. So she's like Derek Trucks when I used to shoot Derek Trucks back in the day, just down on the guitar. Like she's a killer player, but there's no antics going on whatsoever. Like, you know, if you're a photographer, that is not someone you want to go shoot. You know, I mean, I do. She's my daughter and she's beautiful. For me, if they're like doing crazy stuff, the more the better. But some of it feels really authentic and some of it feels like I'm just trying way, way too hard.
So like a year and a half ago, I actually won tickets through Colorado Sound for an Elvis Costello
nice.
show. And of course I won it. Like that week I ended up having to travel for work. So I wasn't able to go, but I sent my wife and my daughter and I just said, you know, when you go there, I really want you to take in like how Elvis is, how he interacts with the audience and his stage presence. And when she came back, she called me up and she's like, Dad, that was like the best show ever. And she's like, I totally get what you're saying about stage presence. Like, you know, he's
That's
got
awesome.
it, you know?
I think it's too, you either have it or you don't, you know?
Yeah, you're probably right. Some people have that thing.
That's about some people almost feeling like they're faking it, probably because they don't have it and they're trying, you know, and you could tell, like some people just have it. You know, like David Byrne. I don't know if you saw that last David Byrne show.
Oh, man, I'm so bummed I didn't see that show.
So good. Talk about stage presence and just being completely, you know, yourself on stage. It's amazing.
Everybody I talked to that saw that show said the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was just
so
phenomenal.
Good. So good.
Yeah, I seen him on Saturday Night Live and yeah, he did a phenomenal job.
So good.
Yeah.
We found out last minute. That's a funny story. We found out last minute that we had to shoot at the soundboard and I didn't have the proper lens because I'm an idiot. And like I said, I always travel light. So I, you know, thought we were shooting from the pit because that's what they said. And so I didn't have a 300. I was like, shit. But I'm also this type of person that believes that you can make stuff happen. And so I'm like, I'm going to put it on Facebook. Like, does anyone have a 300 that they can bring up, you know, before the show? And I'm there at the show. Like the show was going to start in like 40 minutes. Everyone's laughing at me, of course. No one's going to bring out. Sure enough, my friend came up from Littleton, Brad Niederman. He's like, I could be there in 20 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to have enough time. He's like, no, I'll do it. And he had his little tiny convertible, some little like car from the 70s. And he's like, I'll bring it up to the backstage, like up the backstage hill at Red Rocks. And I'm like, I'm not going to let you at the David Byrne show, like drive up to the backstage. He's like, yeah, they will. So I'm out there waiting. Like I told the AEG girl, like, I got to get this lens. And everybody's like, you're not going to get the lens. Sure enough, here he comes up with his car. And I'm at the bottom of the hill waiting for him. And I was going to take it and run up the hill. And he's like, I'll drive you all the way up. They're like, they're not going to let you. And the guy's like, go. And he like drove me up. I literally got in like 2 minutes before we went up to the soundboard to shoot. And I was like, see, I told you I would get that lens. It made all the difference too, to have like a close-up lens of that.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm definitely the type of person that like, I feel like if you really want something bad enough and you believe it, you can make it happen. If it's like the right thing, if you're doing it with the right intentions, you know, you have the right intentions, you really, really believe it and you really, really want it to happen, you can make things work. I mean, that's how I got to do this whole thing. Like, who would have thought that I would have just sent one picture to the guy at Red Rocks, you know, that I believed was good enough to send him, that he would have called me down there. Most people would be like, you're out of your mind, you know, like that's not going to work, but took a chance.
You got to take chances.
You just take a chance. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, as I get older, like I'm in my 50s now, and now it's like, I'm so ready to take chances. That's one of the reasons I'm so pissed that this happened, because I was just on a roll with taking chances. But I was doing my Lumin Project and I was super excited about it. I had all these shoots lined up, but they're not going anywhere. That's what I keep telling myself. They'll be there. from when I'm done.
So can we talk about that? Talk about that new project that you got going on.
Absolutely. So it's called Lumin, like for light, to bring light to people. And it started with this concept of who are you? Because I'm really interested in who people are, as he was saying with my rock stuff, just down to their essence. Like, who are people really, you know? And I feel like I'm really good at kind of getting to people really, really quickly. And the rock thing has taught me that. Just going in and looking and sensing them and just grabbing that really quick. So what I was doing was finding people who were kind of unique. The first person I did, his name was George. He's also a music photographer. He's in his 60s. And he likes to wear women's underwear under his clothes, even though he's a straight guy. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, who knew? So I went down and photographed him. You know, he was like, would you take some pictures of me? And I was like, all right. So I went down and photographed him. And the pictures came out phenomenal. And I was like, this is really cool. I wonder who else is out there who's not who you think they are, you know? So I started just like putting it out there, and people started coming to me, and I would go down to their house with just one roll of film and go into their bedroom and get these like really raw and 5-minute photos of them. So that was the very first project, Who Are You? And that's ongoing. Like, anyone could sign up for it, and you send me a little thing about yourself and I'll go down and shoot you for that. And that's on the site too. And then I started thinking about other things. Like, I went to the Seventh Circle Music Collective in Denver, which is this really underground punk rock club. They have like jazz and stuff there too, but it's just like different kinds of music. And it's literally a garage. Like, you go in and they pull the garage door down when the band's about to start. And the first night I went was punk night. And these kids looked like New York City at like CBGB in 1979. I was just like, holy shit. I had no idea that this was like in 2019. Like, this is crazy. I was like, look at these kids. I've got to shoot portraits of these kids. So I contacted the owner and went down and started shooting portraits of these kids, which turned out amazing. When I did my rock art show this year, I blew them up really big on metal panels, and they came out so cute. The punk rock kids came up to my show too with their parents. It was super, super cute. So I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I want to do more subsets of people. Like, I really have been wanting to do people at the border. Like, that's been something I've wanted to do for years, because my concept is, if you could get people to look at people, then they'll see them, and then they'll think about what they're seeing and feel something. And then maybe we could change how we act towards people and not be such dicks to everyone. So I was doing people in hospice care. I did someone who was dying recently, because that's something that we're all going to do, and nobody thinks we're going to do it. Like, we all think that we're living forever. No one wants to talk about it. They certainly don't want to look at it. But my friend called me and she's like, hey, I'm at my friend's hospice care. She's dying. Can you come take some pictures? And the pictures, look on the site after you get off here. They're amazing. This woman was so excited to be seen. And that's what I'm noticing through Lumin Project. These people are like, thank you for seeing me, you know? So I went to a nursing home. That was another thing that I want to do. No one looks at people in nursing homes. People just put these people in nursing homes and barely go visit, you know, let alone look at them. And these women were so thrilled to have their photos taken and have like close-ups looking in their eyes of people in their, you know, 80s, 90s, 100, one lady was, and just actually seeing them. So I have like a whole list, like aging, you know, aging gay men. I thought would be really cool, especially like people who do drag shows, like aging drag queens. What does that look like? How does that feel when everything that you do is based on how you look and presenting yourself? So I have like a giant list of projects, and they're all up there, what I've done so far. That's one thing that this break has given me a chance to actually put them all in one place, because I'm applying for grants to be able to continue the work. But there's just probably 30 projects that I have lined up that I'd really like to kind of conquer and kind of shoot it in the same style that I shoot the rock photos. It's all black and white. It's all on 35 millimeter film. It's super, just make a connection and shoot. So yeah.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. I love them.
Oh, you saw them?
Yeah. I'm
awesome.
actually looking at some of them right now.
Oh, cool. That's
yeah, because
so
I got another
cool.
screen over here. That's why I keep looking over here. Sorry.
Modern day technology. Because I was looking at you and I'm like,
why is he looking away?
Interested in what I'm saying? He's looking over there.
No, I'm checking out your stuff. Sorry, I should have said that. No, yeah.
Do you see the woman on there, the bald woman? That's the woman that's like in hospice.
Those are really powerful.
You know, I thought I was gonna have this woman in her bed, like crumbling. And she's like, can I take my shirt off? And I was like, yeah, you know. And when I did the Who Are You, I did like a kid that used to be my neighbor. She was my daughter's friend, and she transitioned into a boy and got an operation and let me photograph him right after he transitioned. And so the thing I've noticed with the emails I've been getting back from this project for people, like, that's the first time I felt like people saw me. And when I did my rock art show that I do every year in Boulder, I've been doing that for 14 years. I added this Lumin Project to the back. And like I said, the punk rock kids came up with their parents, and some of the parents were in tears. They were like, my kid gets like treated like shit because they're different. You know, people look down on them, and you raised them up and gave them, you know, a purpose. And it made me feel so good to know that people are responding to the project. And I was just in the process of writing some grants for it, but now.
Well, it's still a good time to write grants if you can. That's
what I was thinking. At first I was like, oh, well, and then I'm like, well, I could still do it.
It might be hard to get your mind into it because of all this, but I think this is an opportune time to look for funding for your project. Yeah,
that's a good idea. So I put that whole thing together in like 3 days because I was so bored. Like, I was like, I got to do something. This sucks.
Yeah. So. That picture of the woman in hospice, so the one where she's looking at you laughing, or that's such a wonderful photo. I love that. It just says a lot.
Thank you so much. Yeah, when you get a chance, dig in through there, because there's like hundreds of photos in there. So
good.
Like I said, I lived in New Orleans, and I've always been so fascinated with culture in Louisiana. It's just such a strange, weird, interesting state that's kind of all to its own. So I was looking up like actual Mardi Gras compared to like the way New Orleans does it, and it was so completely different. I was like, holy crap, you know, this is like something really interesting. So I said, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to shoot this. So I found an inn. There was a guy that used to live up here that worked at the Fox, and he shoots some music too. And I told him what I wanted to do. And he's like, yeah, we'll introduce you to people. So I got introduced to the captain of this crew. But their whole thing is so different. They go around and they go to these houses. They're dressed like the Ku Klux Klan, sort of. You probably saw the pictures on there. Really strange. And they go around at like 7 a.m, drunk, mostly like teenage to young men, boys, and they grab these chickens. They let the chickens loose, and they go grab and tackle the chickens. You'll see it on there. There's a whole section of it. Capture the chickens, and then they give the chickens to the captain, and you round up these chickens, and you go and make this gumbo, and everybody dances in the streets at the end. And you're singing this song. There's this Mardi Gras song that I heard 1,000 times when I was down there. They sing this song. It's all in Cajun. And it's just really strange and like so different than anything I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was just so interesting and fascinating. So you have to know, I don't get up before like 11 o'clock ever. And this was I had to be up at like 5:30 a.m. Everybody was drunk. I don't drink. I'm vegan. And they're going around getting these chickens to cook up. And I'm like, oh, these poor chickens. I know. So fascinating to me. Another thing I noticed was all the people were white. I was like, where's the black people? Like, there's half black people down here. So then I found out that they do like a horse trot run type thing where they go on horses. And I didn't get to explore that as much as I would have liked, because I just found out about it at the end. And I saw them when I was driving out of town and stopped and took some pictures. But next time I'm going to go down and do the whole African American side of this and the Creole side of this, because it's totally different than the other side. What I did get to do when I was down there was go into this old Creole musician's home, which you'll also see on there, which was completely amazing. And Mr. Goldman, Thibodeau, and his wife, Teresa, he's been at Jazz Fest every year. He was like in his late 80s. He was one of the original Creole and Zydeco musicians. And he allowed me to come in his home, and he told me stories, and I got to photograph him playing his accordion in the kitchen and with his wife on the couch, and it was so incredibly amazing. I could not understand a word that this guy was saying. I was trying to pretend to take notes so that I could write about it, but he had such a strong accent, but he was just so overjoyed that, you know, I was there and that I was interested in him, and I got some great photos that are on there of him as well. So the whole thing kind of started just like my rock and roll photography career started. It just kind of happened, and I don't know exactly where it's going to go, but it's going and people are responding to it. So I'm going to keep rolling with it. Like, I made them a book. I really wanted to get that published in something, but I had no context around it. so I don't know where to put it. And I felt bad because I was like, oh, this is going to be in an article. So I made them a little book and sent it to them. So I think now they think there's a book about it. I don't know. They were the nicest, sweetest people I've ever met. So those are the kind of things. Like, I feel like I want to do something called Oh Say Can You See, where you go through every single state and find something like that about each state. So if you know something about South Dakota that's completely unique, you know, I'm all ears, because I want to find something in each state that we don't know about, because a lot of people didn't know about this. When I was putting the pictures up, people are like, what the hell is going on down there? You know, like, I had no idea this was happening. So hopefully I can continue that after this is all done and find these things that are really unique. The Blues Trail is another one I want to do for it. I'd love to start in Memphis and drive down to New Orleans and shoot all the living blues legends that are left, which are not very many at this point, but I think it would be a great experience.
Yeah, I think that kind of stuff is important.
I do too.
And that Louisiana, I've only been down there once, and it was right before Mardi Gras. But like you said, the culture there is so different. You know, and that one area is so different than anywhere else.
It is.
You know?
It's like another country in a lot of ways, you know?
Yeah.
And,
so
and
it's
I mean,
really
it
cool.
is. They have their own language and their own food. And yeah, it's fascinating to me.
I was just watching a documentary called Murder on the Bayou about the Jen Davis 8. They were 8 women that were murdered, right? And that's just kind of north. I think it's northwest or northeast of New Orleans. But
where did you find that?
It was on. It was either on Prime or on. I think it was on Amazon Prime.
Ooh, I'm gonna watch that tonight.
Yeah, it was interesting. There's no resolution, so it pissed my wife off. But there was no resolution. But it was interesting, just kind of the geopolitics of the area and the corruption and South. What's the town name? Janice or something? Oh no, that's not Jennings. Jennings, I think. South Jennings is like the rundown area, and North Jennings is all the rich people, and the, you know. So anyway, it's 8 women that were murdered. So yeah,
that's one of the reasons I left, is I just saw so much stuff when I was living down there that I did not want to see, especially being 21 at the time. And you know, I was just like, holy crap. And there was like girls just missing, like they never found them, you know. And I always felt like, as much as I loved it, and I still have this amazing connection with it, I constantly was like looking behind my shoulder, you know, like I got robbed, and just all kinds of bad things happened just in the very short amount of time that I was there. But at the same time, I have this something that pulls me there. I mean, I had never been to Louisiana. I graduated Kent State, and I'm like, I'm moving to Louisiana. My parents are like, what? I had no job. I didn't know anyone. I had never been there in my life. I was just like, I'm moving down to Louisiana. So
that's the cool thing about being young is you're able to be bold like that.
Exactly.
And I'm less bold now than I've ever been. So.
Oh yeah, I know. It's crazy because you don't know how much longer you have, you know, you don't want to risk it now.
Don't go to the bayou and expect to live. So I just like, okay, I'll stay out. No, I don't mean to make Louisiana sound dangerous or anything, but no, that's such a cool, I was really looking at this Lumin Project, and it's interesting. And you have once again, you have wonderful photos that really touch,
Thank you.
You know, and say something. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And you could go from there to the rock thing, to the wedding thing. I've all connected them all so that people could see them all, but they're also separate. Like I have a whole rock site that's just rock and roll, but then it has links to go to the other ones. Because what I was finding was that when brides and grooms contacted me, they were more apt to hire me if they saw the rock stuff. So I kept that on the site. But when band managers went to look at myself and they saw weddings, that kind of was a turnoff. So I kind of like separated them out. So you can see the rock stuff on the wedding site, but you can't see the weddings on the rock site.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Like the grooms, especially, like, oh, you shot Slash or whatever, you know? So that was a good selling point. But the other way around, if they're like, oh, you're a wedding photographer, it kind of didn't look so good. So I have them all interconnected now, and it's all one big happy family.
Yeah, I've been to all 3 of them. So I was checking out your site last night, and as soon as I found, Todd told me we were going to talk to you, I went onto your sites because Todd sent me links. So that was
awesome.
So
thank you. I'm glad you did your homework.
Well, a little bit. Yep. So
well, if you like photography, you know, like if you're a photographer, then I like looking at photography. So I've been using that time too lately to just be a looking up old documentaries of different photographers that I've admired and looked at their stuff and, street photography and all that kind of thing.
So let me ask you this as a photographer Wes is a photographer too.
That's awesome.
Who were some of your favorite photographers?
I like the old school, like Depression era type photographers, like Dorothea Lange, I like a lot. And those kind of people like Mary Ellen Mark, like the people who did the old school, like really raw Depression era Dust Bowl, that kind of stuff. As far as rock, I love Barron, as I mentioned. Amazing. I love, and I always mess up his name, Herman, the jazz guy that you might know, Wes. Herman Leonard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that stuff, the old jazz stuff. I love my favorite modern day rock photographer is Danny Clint. His stuff is amazing. He still shoots a lot of film too, and he still does a lot of medium format film. I love that old raw kind of to the heart. And, I'm sure you've seen, is her last name pronounced Vivian Mayer? That stuff, oh my God, it's some of the best stuff ever.
But yeah, they discovered all those negatives of hers.
Oh my God. She's like,
she was not showing any of that stuff. That was just she
just
did it
to do it, which is crazy. I'm looking at just to make sure I have it right. Like, I don't want to put
Mayer. Yeah. Maier.
Is it Vivian? Was her first name Vivian?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, like millions of photos, and she wasn't sharing any of that.
I know. It's amazing. And she should have, because it's just like, holy crap, is that just so good? Like, so good. Everything about it, like the tone and the quality and the subject matter, and just love that kind of stuff. So those are the kind of things that I gravitate towards. I don't like the big fancy, there's a lot of photography that's really good, but it's not for me. And that's the thing I think people need to know is that, like, a lot of it could be good, but it's just not your style, I don't like the big flashy in your face stuff, like I just like simple, bare, raw, that kind of thing. I mean, Neil Young is my favorite musician, and I always kind of fancy myself as that kind of photographer, just kind of stripped down, a little bit out of tune sometimes, but just, you feel something. That's the most important thing to me with photography is I want to feel something. Like, I can look at something that's really good technically and really good colors, but if I don't feel something, it's like, well, all right, next,
I don't care if you hate my work or love my work. That's the same for me because I've made you feel something.
Exactly.
It's when you kind of look at it and just go, then I failed.
Exactly.
But if I made you feel something, I don't care if you hate it. That's fine. You can hate it.
Yeah.
I'm not insulted by that by any means. At least I made you feel something.
No, I agree. I'm going to have to look at your work now. You didn't even tell me you were a photographer when you wrote me. I had no idea. I actually thought you guys were going to be some little techie kids. Like, I thought I was coming on here talking to some 22-year-old boys.
I wish I was a little techie kid.
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh, these are men.
Yes, we are.
Old men,
and in my case, old fat men. So, but anyway. Yeah. So I guess a little background on us. I've been shooting since I was a little kid.
That's awesome.
Just an Instamatic camera. My dad and I took a photography class, black and white 101 kind of class together when I was in high school.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And so I've always kind of had a camera around with me. When I went to the university, after getting out of the Marine Corps, I worked in the media relations department. So I did all their photography from their staff photography to all the sports and any kind of plays
awesome.
So I had a lot of experience there. But then after that, I've shot weddings and seniors and, but now I kind of fancy myself a landscape photographer. I'd like to, but then there's days I look at other people's work and like, why am I even doing this?
Well, that's what you can't do because then you're like, because every artist does that no matter how good, like that's just, you just have to like do you the best you can do,
The old imposter syndrome.
Exactly.
One day somebody's going to say, you're not a photographer, Wes.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have a site? Is your stuff up?
I don't, but I need to start sharing because people are starting to link to me on Instagram because of this. So I'm going to start putting some of my stuff up.
Yeah, I'm going to bug you for it because now I want to see it.
Yeah. And then I do sales for advertising. I worked at a nonprofit for 10 years prior to this. And so I've done a lot of that kind of stuff, content creation.
Yeah. For a
nonprofit.
Creator, social media expert.
Yeah. Well, not an expert, but yeah. And Todd would say I don't do enough social media for this, but and then Todd is a professional photographer, went to school for it, and I'll let him talk about himself.
Yeah,
go ahead and talk about yourself, Todd.
Well, I'm not really here to talk about myself, but I've been doing this for a long time, about as long as you have, and I went to photo school, and I have kind of like yourself, I have a lot of different irons in the fire. I do a lot of different things, but my forte is people.
Awesome.
So
yeah, me too.
I have a news service that I freelance for.
Did you say news or nude?
He said nude, but he meant news.
I was like, wow.
News, I think it broke up on the internet here. I
was like, nude service. What's that?
Nobody wants to see that. No, it's so I freelance for a news service out of Madrid, Spain, and I answer to the North American photo department.
That sounds fun.
And so that's where I shoot a lot of sports and that sort of thing. And I do some, local stories for them, depending on what's going on. And then I shoot some architecture and I shoot some food.
Nice.
That's the stuff I pay the bills with. But my passion is people. I love interacting with people, and especially musicians and artists, other artists. When we were kicking around the idea for this podcast and thinking about what we could talk about, one of the things that I've always enjoyed doing is when I had the opportunity or got an assignment to do like an artist profile and go spend like, an afternoon in their studio and do a portrait of them and maybe shoot some of their work or what have you. But just spending that time with them in the studio and just talking about process and, there's that thread that runs through all the creative, mediums. And you can always find that common ground with another artist,
exactly.
Whether they paint or sculpt or a photographer or a musician. Yeah. You can relate on some level. Yeah. So that's how Wes and I ended up here.
That's very cool. I'm glad that you did. That's awesome.
And well, Todd, and you got to tell her about the Corn Mother Project. Just briefly. Sorry.
So my project, the last, going on 12 years is that, a good friend of mine came up with this concept of Return of the Corn Mothers, which is based on the Pueblo myth of the Corn Maiden or Corn Mother, and how she sacrifices herself and takes care of the community, and she's the one that passes on the traditions and the stories. So she came up with, she was like, she had read this, her husband had read this book, and she was like, well, I know a lot of like modern day corn mothers that work in their communities that don't necessarily, they're not necessarily famous or get a lot of publicity or anything like that. They're the women that make things go. Women are the people that make things go in our society and in our culture. It doesn't matter where you are in the world.
That's true.
If it wasn't for women, the wheels fall off the bus.
Yep.
So the concept is that we would, find these women in different communities in the Southwest, and we would tell their story about who they are, what they do, their life philosophy, and then they tell a story of a woman that influenced them to become the women that they are.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. That's very Lumin Project-esque. That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, like that definitely would fit under, the idea of some of the stuff that you're doing right now. So when I'm looking at that, your website, your Lumin website, I totally can relate. Like I love what I see there. And there's so many ideas that
I know.
Almost a point like, how do I fit all this in? Right. And so I've actually been looking, so you've inspired me to Wes and I have both been thinking about personal projects that we want to do as
That's awesome. Very
especially
cool.
being inspired by other artists like yourself. And so that looking at that website definitely inspires me to try to go do some of the
Yay.
other things I've been kind of kicking around in the back of my brain, you know?
Yeah, it's important. I think it's more important now than ever, you know? I just feel like people, they just get on a narrative and it's the same narrative. And it's just, I don't know, people don't really look. They don't look. And if you're not looking, then you can't see. If you can't see, you can't think. You know, it's just, I just feel like people just react, and they're not really even looking around them. They're just repeating stuff that they heard. So the more people that can like really in depth and look at things and bring those to other people, I think is just so important right now. You know, everything's just a soundbite. Everything's just like a quick flash, a soundbite. Like it's not, there's no depth, and it just is so important to add some depth to life, I feel like, you know. So
there's stories all over the place, you know. Even when we reach out to people to be on this podcast, they're like, I don't know if I want to, you know, especially early on, but even still, they're like, I'm not really interested. And I'm like, I guarantee if you spend an hour with me, we're going to talk about something interesting and
yeah,
something you didn't even think about yourself, but something that's significant, and our listeners will find value in that, you know.
absolutely. I think if you really look at people, you could find something interesting about anyone, you know.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because everyone's got a story. So I'm always up to do a podcast.
Well, good to know, because we'll have to have you on again when all this stuff settles down and you're working on some of these projects and check in.
I would love to. I was supposed to go talk to Rotary. That was the only thing that I was afraid to do. And I kept putting it off, and then they'd stop calling me. I felt bad. I'm like always up to do an interview, but then the Rotary just seemed so scary to me. And I kept like, can we do it next time? Can we do it next time? And now I feel bad. Maybe I'll have to call them back.
You have really interesting stories to tell, and
I'm glad you think
you're
so.
lightening people, you know, with your photography, telling some of these stories, and then being able to, you know, people want a connection. That's a thing that we hear all the time with other artists, and especially people that curate or are gallery owners. Like, people want to make that connection with that artist. They want to know who that person is. They're curious just like we are.
Yeah.
As far as what makes people tick, what makes us alike, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I'm like that when I come home from shooting any show. I all of a sudden want to see all about the person that I just shot. So I start researching, you know, it doesn't matter who it is. It's like, I wonder about this person. And I start doing research on them. I don't do it before, I do it after, because I don't want to know so much before. But after I come home from shooting, I'm just like so curious about, I wonder what this person's personal life is like, and what their beliefs are, and, you know, try to get some information that's not too skewed.
So this grant writing thing and trying to secure money for some of these projects, was that something you've done for a while now, or is it just came about with this Lumin project?
It's with Lumin. When I started thinking about, actually, I've been thinking about doing this project for a long time, but when I actually like went down to Louisiana, I was like, all right, I'm just doing it. I'm not thinking about it anymore. I'm just going to do it. And that happened like right after I turned 50. I was like, I need to start doing this stuff because I'm getting older. So after I did it and funded it myself, I was like, this is an expensive project, you know, because it's all film and I was self-funding everything. And someone was like, well, why don't you write some grants? Those are things that you could get grants for. And I was like, what? Really? You know, because everyone at first was like, do a GoFundMe. And I'm not against Kickstarters or GoFundMes. I've helped several of my friends do their albums and, you know, record their CDs and all that. But it just didn't feel like what I wanted to do at this point in time in my life. I'm not sure if that's the Youngstown, Ohio coming in for me of, no, I'll do it myself, you know, I don't know, but whatever it was, it just didn't feel right to me. But it did feel okay to have some organization that had money set aside anyhow that they needed to use for this, for tax purposes or whatever. Because a lot of people, you know, let's be honest, they give these grants because it helps them with their taxes and all that to give a charitable donation. Some of them really care, but some of them, there's a lot out there. And what I'm noticing is there's a lot for women and there's a lot for older women. So that's what I started looking into. And I was like, there's a lot of money out there. Now, I'm the type of person that is not very good at I don't think most artists are good at rejection. So the first thing I applied to was like, nope, sorry. And I was just like, all right, that's it. I'm not doing it anymore. You know, and of course my family's like, you can't just quit after the first one that says no, you know? So I met with a grant writer who knows how to actually write grants and was talking with her, and she's hopefully going to help me because I realized that it is a skill and you need to, you know, even when I was looking for like artist relief, when this whole thing came down, I got sent a couple links where you could send in and they were like, what's your CV? I didn't even know what the hell a CV was. Like I had to go look it up, you know, and see what it was. And I still don't even know what CV stands for as I'm sitting here. I can't remember, but it was
curriculum
like,
vitae.
yeah, it was weird. It was just like, what? So I'm like trying to write that, but I didn't have anything to write. So I just took my bio that's haphazardly written and stuck it in there. So things like that, that's all like a learning curve because I'm realizing the whole grant writing thing is an art unto itself, you know, and I need to find someone that knows how to do it and knows those little things to put in there to make it happen. But that's the ultimate goal would to be to get a grant so that I can work on some of these projects for a couple of months. Because what happens is during normal times, I'm really busy because I do photography for a living. So I'm constantly shooting portraits and weddings and events and, you know, every single thing that someone calls me for. And I have absolutely no free time to do this kind of stuff. Now I have free time and everything's closed down and I don't have any money. So it's a catch-22. So it's like I either have the money because I'm working a lot or I have the time and I don't have the money. So the idea is to help get these funded so I don't have to worry about working for a small chunk of time and I can just get this done, you know, and then hopefully get the site where it's like more like where people could donate to different causes and stuff like that. Like I want to integrate it more like, okay, I'm going to shoot a Native American tribe that's having alcohol issues or whatever. I shoot that and then there's a link on there and you can donate to help that. So that's the ultimate goal is to kind of give back, which is something I think every artist should do. And I will put that out there because I don't think it happens enough. Like I shoot for Flashes of Hope, which is we go down to Children's Hospital every year and photograph children with cancer and terminal diseases. We do it all for free and they're all black and white, really beautiful black and white portraits. I put that on my site just recently. And I'm always happy to do stuff like that. And I think everyone that has a talent should, you know, use it in some kind of a good helping way because it's super important. I mean, I didn't create this. It was kind of given to me. You know, I didn't go to school. I didn't even know I could do this until I was 30 some years old. You know, it just happened. So I feel like it was literally a gift and, you know, we should share our gifts. So
I'm glad you mentioned that because I did see that on your website that you do charitable work and not just that, but you also shoot senior portraits for families
for underprivileged kids. Yeah.
Which I think is awesome.
Else that I really would like to do more of. There's just like the part of the problem is I'm really good at shooting and thinking of ideas and doing the ideas, but it's a matter of like all the organization that goes behind it. And I'm not at a place yet where I could hire someone to do it. And I'm a control freak, so I don't want really to give that control to anybody else. But I would like to open that up and make that something that literally goes nationwide, where every fall, photographers around the entire country donate their time and do so many free senior portraits. Because I feel like in places, especially like Boulder, where a lot of people do have money, the kids that don't have money, they have a shitty phone picture, you know, and it's just lame. It sucks that you can't afford to have a nice picture because you don't your family doesn't have enough money to do that. So when I put that out, the first year that I did it, I got an overwhelming response, and then I did more the second year, but there's only one of me. So I'd like to get other photographers to join me, and I'd actually like to start a nonprofit. But that was like one of my ideas where I was like, oh, I'm going to start this nonprofit and I'm going to do senior portraits around the whole country. And then when I realized what that actually entails, I'm like, I have to work 7 days this week. I can't do that, you know? So it's things like that I'm hoping just to pull in the right people to try to make that happen, because I think it would be a really cool thing to have a service like that around the country that people could go. And what I noticed is a lot of people want to be anonymous with that. You know, they don't want you to know that they don't have money. They don't want their friends to know that they don't have money. So it should be like an anonymous kind of behind the scenes thing that people could sign up for and not have to feel shamed about it. Because a couple kids wanted to do it, like their parents wanted to do it, and then the kids felt embarrassed, which made me feel really sad because I grew up without a lot of money, you know, and there's no shame to that. So a couple of the kids were like, I don't want to do that. That's embarrassing to get like a free charitable. And I was like, oh, it's not like that, you know? So
Right.
a lot with that, but
yeah, there's a Central High School, and maybe they even do it at Stevens here in Rapid City. They the art class, they do senior pictures for kids that can't afford.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they'll do class pictures.
Cool.
Yeah, and
I
it's peer to peer then, and
that's very cool.
Yeah,
that's even a better idea to like get something like that started across the country for up and coming photographers, like kids that want to be photographers, to give that back, and then that starts them out in the right direction as well.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
That is cool.
And here it was like, a handful of kids. And then when I started thinking about expanding, it's like, what if I went to like somewhere like Alamosa or something where none of the kids have money, like it's a whole, then it started getting really confusing in my mind. Like, how do you, and even when I was doing it here, it was like, how do you assess need? I was just kind of trusting people, and I don't know.
Well, and maybe that's the best way to do it, is like, trust them, because the parents that really, I would assume a lot of the parents that think, oh, they're going to get it for free would rather go spend a bunch of money, Exactly. So I think it weeds out those ones that are like, well, I don't want a free photo.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to be very good. But so that kind of helps weed. But, maybe you just give a little grace. And if they could afford it, oh, well, that's the way it goes.
Exactly. Exactly. If you notice on social media, I don't even watermark my stuff. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I trust people. Someone wants to steal my photo that bad, whatever, I just probably shouldn't feel that way, but that's just kind of how I've always been, I shoot film. So if they try to print something out, it's going to not be able to be printed very large anyhow. I saw something that was like one of my stuff. I've seen a couple of my photos on eBay, and at first it was kind of weird. I was just like, what? Like, for my reaction was kind of like they tossed it out like they would a bad sweater. It was just like, who bought this picture and put it out with a bad sweater they didn't want anymore? Like, why is my thing on eBay? And then other people were like, well, I would take that as a compliment. They have your name on there and you're known enough that you're being resold on eBay. That's a good thing. So I don't care. For me, it wasn't so much like, oh, they're stealing my work. And it was more like they bought my work. They own it. Why are they trying to sell it? I don't understand. And they were selling it for less than they bought it for me from. So that was really kind of like, shit.
Oh, so they bought your work. They bought your work and was selling it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were stealing your work offline.
No, they bought it. Like they bought like an actual print, So it was their print because they bought the print, but then they were selling it on eBay for less than they bought it for. So it was like, damn, like this is like your old clothes, like why are you putting it? It was really, I almost bought it back because I was like, kind of felt bad about it, but whatever.
Then maybe that should be in your contract. Like if you go to sell this, I'll buy it back.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
That is nuts.
So you have your websites. You have 3 different websites.
Four now, because now
4?
I have a Dog Days Photo Art, which is where you could buy my rock and roll prints. I just got that up too in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, nice. Okay. I didn't see that. I missed that.
I just did it. So I've been inputting stuff for the last like 5 days, like every single 8x10 I have, and everything that's already printed is going to be on there because I pay for a storage space that has a ton of inventory in it. And this year I'm not going to be able to do my rock show, which is where I sell all my inventory. I've been doing that for 14 years, but this year there's just no way that's going to happen because it's in December and I don't even have any new content and people aren't going to be, it's just not the year for it. So I'm skipping this year. 15, the big 15 is going to be next year. So I started this site because I'm like, I'm sitting here paying for storage space with all this inventory. Why not get it out there so people could buy it besides once a year? That doesn't even make sense. So that's out there too. I'm going to link that to the other websites. And it's just a Shopify site I set up, but it's got all my different shots that I already have printed are on there.
Awesome. Where do those prints start and what do they go up to?
They start at $50 for an 8x10, and then they go up to $3,000 for really big framed. My husband makes all the frames. He does it all out of hardwood. So if you're framing something that's 4 foot by 6 foot, the frame itself is going to cost you at least $1,000 because I asked a frame shop what that cost, So they go all the way up to really, really huge photos. And then you can just get a little loose 8x10 print for $50. I put it up 2 weeks ago and I've sold 1 photo so far. So I need to publicize it. I hate doing that. I hate putting in SEO and all that crap that you have to do to get it out there, And I hate don't like to bombard people with stuff. So I'll post a bunch of fun photos and then I'll be like, hey, you could still buy my stuff. So how I'm going with that.
We'll tell you what, we'll push it hard this
Thank
week
you.
when we release the episode. So
thank you. I'm excited.
Make sure I have all that information in the episode
it's good
description.
stuff. I mean, it's better on someone's wall than in a dark storage space. That's for sure.
So where do your weddings start at? Because if you're doing weddings, what's the range? Somebody wanted to hire you.
My weddings start really cheap. They start at $700, and I've done 360 weddings. So, and everything, and that's for a couple of hours. But they go up, and I'm not over $3,000. And a lot of people start at $4,000 around here. Like they start really high. But I like to keep people that are musicians and artists and Peace Corps volunteers. I like to be able to give them a nice product. I'm also doing all my weddings 20% off for now to the end of the year. Like even if you book me for next year, because all my weddings have canceled for this year. So, my income's pretty much gone down about 95%, 96 right now. So it kind of sucks, but I'm trying to just give discounts. People could buy gift certificates. I have that on the Lumin site as well as the Shopify site. You could buy a gift certificate, which is 20% off. So I'm trying to just give people deals because what I'm worried about happening is just all of us that are self-employed. Like I can't play the lady who cleaned my house. I can't pay someone to do my nails anymore. I can't pay to get massages anymore. So then those people aren't going to be able to pay to do things. And that's really what I'm worried about happening is that all of us that are creatives or that have their own businesses, like people aren't going to be able to go to the yoga studios when they open up. They're going to just do yoga at home. They're going to get their hair done at home. So that's the kind of thing that's really worrying me more than anything is that it's going to be this big domino effect for all us little guys that are trying to be entrepreneurs and do our own thing. So I'm trying to just give deals to people and try to get them to come back when this is over. And I know weddings are a huge expense. So I try to keep it reasonable because some of what I see, I've seen stuff where we start at $5,000 and I don't limit photos either with weddings. Like you get all of the photos edited and my Youngstown, Ohio comes in hard when it comes to that because I'll shoot a wedding on Friday and you'll have 2,000 photos edited in your inbox on Monday. Like I just am like, if I have work, I'm going to do the work. I worked at a factory when I was in college. I packed cans at US Can. I know what like hard work is. So for me, like I'm going to give you like 110% if you're letting me take photos for a living, So that's worth that. Everything's 20% off all my shoots. So I just got a call to do a graduation party in a couple of weeks. And I'm so excited. They're like, there's going to be 20 people. We're all going to be wearing masks. I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank God. I get to go be around people and take photos. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird just being a workaholic too. And then all of a sudden everything just stops, you're just like, oh my God, I'm in paddleboarding. I have a paddleboard. So I go out paddleboarding when it's nice or I go hiking. So I've just been paddleboarding, hiking and just thinking and knowing that I know that it will. I went down in 2008-9 when this happened. I went down to almost nothing again and worked my way back up. So I could do it once, I could do it again, but the second time and being older and having come so much further up to just have the rug literally pulled out from under you in like literally a weekend, it's just like my inbox was just email after email of cancel. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even look anymore. So to get a thing today, like, hey, are you still up for doing that graduation? I was like, yeah, I'm way up. I'll be there.
That's awesome.
How is it affecting you guys?
Well, I do sales and for ad specialties after I left the nonprofit and man, it just like crashed, just like you're talking about. So, but the company I work for has kept everybody on. So we're still going to work every day. So I haven't had that stuck at home thing. I've been going to work every day. So we're just kind of hunkering down and trying to do it on the cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. How about you, Todd?
I've been picking up little things here and there. And then like yourself, I had some events that I always photograph this time of year and those, just up and dissipated. So luckily, one of those events was an award ceremony for Metro State University. And since they're not going to be able to do the award ceremony, they asked me if I'd be willing to photograph all the trophies that they award.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's nice that people thought of me and they were like trying to figure out ways to like keep me working and
that's great.
Money. So, yeah, little things here and there, but in some ways I feel like, it sucks, but I think people like ourselves, we're much more adaptable than a lot of people. And I feel fortunate in that aspect. I always tell people that I'm constantly unemployed, right? So as a freelancer,
you're always going to job interviews. It's like crazy, and you're always like getting turned down a lot of times. And I was saying that about weddings, when I have to go meet with wedding couples, it's like, you get rejection letters just as much as you get the others. And it's just like, I didn't get hired for that. And it takes a certain person to be able to like go through that, like constantly have to hustle to get gigs, like constantly, it's not like we're working for a newspaper. That would be great if I just was getting assignments every day when I woke up, like go out and shoot this, go out and shoot that. That'd be awesome. But it's like constantly trying to come up with ways to hustle and make a living. And that gets exhausting, so maybe it's been in a secret way, a little bit of a good break, but now it's just going to turn it on 1,000% when it comes back because, but it's hard to go without income for that long. Luckily, my husband's been working and not had to really change his lifestyle at all. So that's been great. But
yeah, I'm fortunate in that aspect too. And that my wife has a, what I call a regular job, and she's actually able to work at home and do her job right now.
That's cool.
See my dirty office.
I was wondering, I thought she threw you out in the garage. I thought you did something bad.
I'm in the doghouse this week.
Yeah.
So now I'm sharing my office space, which is kind of a catch-all room with her. She's got her own little workstation set up back there, and
nice.
And so she's doing her job every day, gets up and does it remotely, which is great.
That's cool.
That's
good.
Then I'm just trying to hustle my end of things, and I feel like it'll be okay. I don't feel I'm bummed, but at the same time, I don't have like a lot of anxiety about it. I'm like, okay, well, this is what my normal life looks like anyway, as far as, I just got to hustle and take what I can when I can get it and do what I can.
Exactly.
And, I feel pretty fortunate, we were sitting having dinner the other night, and I think one of my kids said something that, I was like, we're really lucky. Like, we're really fortunate. We have a roof over our heads.
Exactly.
We have food in our refrigerator, and, your mom and I are still working and we have income coming in. And so there's a lot of people that their future is unknown. Like they don't know. I mean, our future is unknown too, but not to, nothing compared to people that are working in the service industry who, all of a sudden they have no ability to make any kind of income, and they don't know if they can pay their mortgage or their rent.
Exactly.
Or put
I have
food
a lot
on the
of friends
table.
in that situation, and it's very, very difficult. It's like, they don't know what they're going to do. And they all got their rent, payment extended for 3 months, but now that 3 months is coming up in a few weeks, and they're like, I still don't have any money, so that wasn't very helpful, because now I know I owe 3 months rent instead of 1, and I haven't worked. So I really just every night before I go to bed, I'm like, gotta change. Like it's gotta shift eventually, So all I'm trying to do is just make the most of my time that I wouldn't normally have. I just got 12 rolls of film processed today that I've been shooting during this time. So after this, I'm going to go through that and put some of that up on the Lumin site too, on a new little category. Cause there's like a little blog page in there. I called it like in the works or in progress or something, cause I hate the word blog, but, only one thing on there. So I've got to add some things because I don't really like talking about it. I'd rather just show it. I mean, I like talking about it like this, but I don't like really writing about it in a blog post, I don't know. I feel like people just are constantly talking, just talk. So, and that comes from me, who's been talking for however many hours straight to you guys.
No, but it's good. I would much rather, like you, I always feel weird when I'm trying to do all this, and I'm terrible at promotion. Like, I'm terrible.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. You don't want to bother people.
Right. I don't want people to go, oh my God, there he is again, pushing his podcast or his photography or whatever. Like, who cares?
It's like a fine line, there's ways to do it, but you have to have some finesse because you don't want to be that person that's just like, look at me, look at me, look at me. So at the same time, it's like, I really need some money right now. So
look at me.
So what was on this 12 rolls of film that you just processed that you were shooting?
There's so much stuff. Yes. I mean, it started out with just like 2 months ago when it was like a blizzard and there's like that kind of stuff. And then when stuff started getting weird, there's pictures of like people's feet on the like stand in these like spacers, and things like that. And then when people first started going out in masks, and then I did a couple of the protests down in Denver. And then I did like just driving around, seeing things, which my daughter hates because I'll like pull up in the car. There's this little girl dancing in the rain. She had like a little umbrella in the rain, and I pulled up in the car, took a picture of her, and then sped off. And my daughter's just like, that is so creepy. And she's like, she ran into the house. The little girl ran into the house, and she's like, she's going to go tell her mom because I have a paddleboard on my car. She's going to be like, there's a surfboard on her car. She's got a great car. She's like, you can't just pull up and take a picture of people and take off. I've been doing a lot of that where I'm just like driving around. I've been keeping my camera in my car at all times now because you never know, like what you're going to see right now. So I just keep it in my car. And then if I see something, I have it there. So just to try to, get an idea of this time period, because when the floods came, our place, we had a raging river, which took down a bridge, and there were like, cause I'm like right up on the side of the mountain. So we had like trees coming down and a big bridge got taken out. But I was so traumatized by that flood that I didn't even get any documentation of it, which makes me so sad now. It was just so incredibly scary to me that I just didn't even take photos. So this time I'm really conscious about like, okay, I don't like what's going on. It's scaring me a bit, but I'm going to force myself to try to document it, which has been really helpful.
That's good. No, I like that.
Yeah. I've taken nature photos too, like landscape, which I never usually do. And I actually really like them on the film. I'm like, wow, this is pretty fun, because I don't usually do that. So
Right.
It's kind of refreshing to take photographs of stuff that is kind of outside of your realm or outside of what you normally do.
Exactly. It's definitely helped me and pushed me and kept me fresh and kept me shooting, so I haven't I've pretty much shot pictures every single day that this has happened, just not for money. So yeah, it's been good.
So you have your websites that obviously have all your work on and promote your stuff, but are you good with the social media? Do you like doing the social media?
I think I'm really good at it, actually. And I've had people tell me that they follow me because they like it. Like I keep things not, I don't put anything up, any personal kind of like controversial stuff. You see people from high school that are like, that bitch, blah, blah, blah. Like I would never, ever do that. I keep it to like photographs with song lyrics. I try to rotate it in a really good manner. So I'll do a couple of rock photos on this day. Then the next day I'll do something from Lumin. And then, I might do a wedding and then more rock photos. I try to just kind of vary it so people don't get sick of seeing things. And I'm really good at timing. If something big happened in the world, you're not going to put some trivial photo up. You have to kind of keep with the times and what's going on. And I try to be really mindful of that. If it's a rock star's birthday, that's prime opportunity to put one of my rock shots up of that person that's having a birthday. I have all this backlog of travel stuff. So if something's happening somewhere in the world, I can pull that out. So I think I'm pretty good at it. I just don't like promoting the buy stuff from me type aspect. So what I'll do is tie that to something else once in a while and just kind of throw that in there every few weeks or something like that. So I do like doing it. I don't like social media. I don't like scrolling through it. I don't like looking at it. I think there's just so much stuff on there that it's overwhelming. But unfortunately, it's what we have to do. If I wasn't on it, I don't know I don't know how people would find me, honestly. I just feel like I get, as far as work goes, I probably get 70% of my work from social media because someone shows their friend, and I could tag people if I shoot a wedding or whatever. So I think it's just part of the game that we have to play.
So what social media platforms are you on, or do you
I'm on
utilize?
Facebook and Instagram. I'm technically on Twitter, but I don't know how to use it. So if you go there, you won't see anything. I've been on there for about 10 years. And someone was like, oh, I typed on Twitter. I was like, what? I have Twitter? I had no idea. So I am on Twitter, but I don't know. I figure if the president knows how to do it, I should know how to do it, but I don't know. I haven't been able to figure it out. Like, how the hell can he do this and I can't do this? I don't get it. So that one I don't use, but I do use Instagram, which I also don't really love. I basically just pull stuff over from Facebook. And then I have like a Facebook page for myself for Dog Days Photo and for Lumin Project. So, and they all get the same thing, truth be told. It's not like and that's something I probably should do better, is gear different things toward different things. But right now, they just all get the same thing. So if you're on one, you're going to see the same thing as the other.
Well, I just followed you on Facebook and followed you on Instagram. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'll look for you on there. But you'll see, I try to keep it fresh. I mean, people do say like, oh, it's interesting. You do put interesting stuff on there. So hopefully that's true. I'm already like looking for a photo for a quote. I like to combine things with quotes or song lyrics or things like that. So my friend, actually, I was talking to her the other day and she's like, why don't you make stickers? You're so good at pairing photos with like lyrics. She's like, I'll buy $100 worth of stickers. So that's my next thing. I just ordered a bunch of stickers. I'm going to see how they look and think that's kind of a cool venture to go on. So if you ever come to my show, which will be happening now in 2021, I do it every December, the first week in December on a Thursday. It's called Rockin' in a Winter Wonderland, and we have like tons of free music. There's like 4 or 5 bands that play. My daughter's been playing there since she was 7. She's a great musician. And then we have other like up and coming bands. And I have literally like thousands of photos for sale, everything from like huge pieces of art to like this big long table of all this different stuff. And I do like ornaments and like little, journals with the rock photos on them and shirts and just everything you could think of. So we do that every year and it's like a super, super fun event, but next year.
We'll keep in touch because I would like to see it. Yeah, I would definitely come down for it.
People have been coming for years. Like this would have been the 15th year. And I've had people that have come like for the whole, like they don't miss it because it's definitely become like a thing. So, and it's free and it runs for like 6 hours and all ages. And so it's pretty cool. But you have a long haul to get here.
Yeah, and I was doing it once a month. I was doing it, once a month. Todd would line up 3 or 4 people, and then I would go down there. And then Todd came up here one time, and we interviewed 4 people. So it's a whirlwind on that weekend. But
that's crazy. So we normally would be doing this in person.
Yep.
Yeah, because I like being face to face.
Oh God, me too. Me too.
All right, but it's nothing compared to.
It's not the same because then you're distracted with seeing yourself, and then I'm like, it's just weird, It's like it's totally different. I tell people that, like, even if I'm having wedding meetings, it's like I so badly want to feel the person next to me. I don't like the whole like. It's weird. It's just different. Everybody who says it's not different is crazy. They're just lying to themselves.
Right.
When this whole thing first happened, it was like I was trying to support all my friends that are musicians and they'd be playing their shows in their corner of their house. And then I got to a point where it's just like I cannot watch another friend sit there strumming his guitar, like on the rocking chair in his living room anymore. Like I just can't do it. It's not the same thing. Like it just, I get it and I want to be supportive, but it just started depressing me because it's just like this is not the same as going out to see a show, it just doesn't have the same feel to it.
What do you think about this concept? And I was going to ask you earlier of the drive-in concert. Have you seen this idea where?
No.
So like they're turning like in Europe, I think in Denmark and maybe Sweden, they've taken like drive-in theaters. And so you can go watch a concert, but you're in your car. So it's the drive-in theater. I don't know what the stipulations are or if they allow you because you're spaced out. I would think that would be all right if you got out of your car, but I don't know how that works. I haven't.
Innovative, and that's a great idea. I personally would not want to go. Like, I just I hate I'm a freaking Sagittarius Italian. I hate restrictions. I hate being told, stay in your car, listen to the music while you're in your car. It's like, no, I want to get out of my car. Like, I don't know. I think it's a good idea if that's what you have to do. But what worries me is if we keep doing things like this, we might not go back. Like, I feel like the more that we get used to doing things like this, the more we might not go back to everything in its full glory. And that kind of scares me a lot, you know? I mean, just technology in general, look how much we've shifted to that just with social media, of people not even, and I mean, before this even happened, people not getting together nearly as much as they used to because they just do it online. And it's just like, I don't want to recreate my life, you know, virtually. Like, I want to be there and experience it, you know? So I don't know. I think if that's what you have to do, cool for now, but I would want to get out of my car. Like, you can't dance in your car. What do you?
I'm with you. I don't think that would be something that I would pay money for.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't
I just kind of am the type of person that would rather wait. Like, I'm like that kind of person that, like, it just goes back to everything we were talking about in the beginning, which is like trying to produce the kind of work that I produce. Like, I would want to wait for the real, you know, like, I'll just wait. Like, I'll wait for it to be real and all in and then go do it, you know? And
in some ways, this might be kind of the reboot that we need as, you know, as a society, you know,
I'm hoping
not being able to do the things that we normally do and we, you know, take for granted. Maybe after all this kind of chills out and we're able to go back to some kind of normalcy, people will appreciate having that face to face and getting together with their friends and throwing more, you know,
dinner parties,
hugs,
concerts, like backyard concerts, like all that stuff. You know, I'm like an introvert. Like, I need to have my own space. I've been married for over 20 years and I have my own bedroom. Like, I cannot stand people being around me all the time. And then I realized how much of an introvert I'm not. I am, but I'm not, because now I'm like, I want to be with people so badly, you know, like, I have a love-hate relationship with people. Like, I love humanity, but I also kind of hate people a little bit. So it's really weird. It's a weird thing, you know, like, it's.
I totally can relate. Like, that was like some of the things you said tonight. It's like right on the money. Like, I really enjoy this. Like,
yeah,
I'm not like I'm always, if I go to a party, I'm always the one in the corner talking to like one or two specific people and having a
I'm not just at the table entertaining or whatever, you know, I'll just sit there and listen and observe, but we're photographers. So we're observers by nature, you know, like.
Well, that's true, because I'm always watching people, like wondering, you know, making up stories in my head. I wonder what the story is with that guy, or, you know, just kind of looking and watching their tells, like what kind of person they are. Are they a sketchy person? Or are they like on the money, you know, like on the level?
Are you a Joni Mitchell fan?
You know, I wouldn't say I'm a fan. I like her music.
Look up the song People's Parties. It will describe exactly what you're talking about. It's so good. Like, look it up, but look at the lyrics while you're listening to it. It's called People's Parties. Look that up, because it'll be exactly what you just were saying. And that's how I am too. Like, I could talk all night like this to, you know, a couple of people that I'm interested in or interested in me. But if I'm sitting there with a group of people, I'm not going to say anything, you know, I'm just going to sit there and watch. So yeah, it's interesting.
So do you get your energy when you go to your room? Do you recharge your batteries there, or do you get your energy in small groups of people?
I think by myself, and especially out on my paddleboard. Yeah. I mean, I like to be around people in doses, you know, like I need doses of it. And I definitely can suck up energy from people. I feel energy a lot. So I have to be careful about who and how much I'm around certain kinds of people, certain groups of people, you know. And I definitely, I used to work at the Fox. I was a cocktail waitress, and I would carry drinks through 600 people and have a million things going on at once. And I would come home at night, I could not fall asleep, because just all that energy, taking it in, you know, taking it in, you have to get rid of it. So I think when I was working a lot, that's one thing I noticed about what Todd said about the reset, is that up until now, I was just working, literally constantly, so that I wasn't really hanging out with friends because I already got enough of people with working that I just could not. The last thing I wanted to do in my free time was be around people, because I was just always around people. So I think now I really want to be around people and I can't. So it's very interesting.
So you're an empath is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. I feel everything. I mean, even places like where he lives, Wes, I had to leave. I went up to South Dakota and I had to leave. Whatever went on up there, I don't know if it's the Native American slaughter or what, but I was just super nauseous and dizzy the whole entire time that I was up there. It sucked. I had to leave. And the minute that we left, I felt completely better.
Where were you at when you came up here?
I went to the Badlands and we went to Sturgis and then we went to, what's your town called?
Rapid City.
Yes, we went through there and we went through one that had are you the one that has the natural fountain going through the middle of the city where you could drink it?
Well, there's hot springs. I don't know.
That's probably what it was.
There might be a fountain down there. I don't remember. And then there's Deadwood.
Up by Mount Rushmore, whatever's up there did not feel good to me at all. I just was I was that way in Virginia too, where we went to some Civil War sites and I just couldn't be there. And then other places I feel really, really good immediately. So it's weird. I've learned to deal with it more as I got older, but there's definitely certain places that the minute I get there, I just San Francisco's one. You would think I would love San Francisco being who I am. I hate San Francisco. Every time I go there, I'm just get me out of here. So I don't know what it is, but
when I was in college at Black Hill State in Spearfish, I was in the debate team, and our debate coach, we'd go down to Colorado Springs. And the minute we got to Colorado Springs, he would just be physically ill.
Yeah,
so he would be in the bed. He would be in the hotel room the whole time and we'd be doing our thing. Anywhere else he was fine, but Colorado Springs. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the same way. There's certain places I just cannot be. And other places Louisiana is a perfect example. You would think I would hate it there. Just my lifestyle and my belief system is very different from most of Louisiana. But when I get there, I feel like I'm home. It's very, very strange because I got out of the car. I drove down there by myself. I got out of the car and 10 people were where are you from? They knew right away that I did not belong there, Something about the area feels good to me. So it's a thing that, you explain people, they think you're crazy. But at this point in my life, I care less, it's whatever, I know what I'm experiencing. So, and I think that's what makes me a good photographer. I could feel people right away, and kind of get to the heart of it in a very short amount of time. So
yeah,
it's interesting. I don't like Colorado Springs either. I'm with your coach. It's a pretty place, but yeah.
There must be something there though. I don't know what it is, but
you never know. Just things that could have happened or things in the the energy of the earth itself. You have no idea, Yeah. That's interesting. And I'm not the only one.
So we'll wrap this up, Lisa. Thank you so much for giving us so much time this evening. And
it was so much fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And, it was really nice to talk with you and talk about your work because it's just phenomenal work.
Thank you so much.
If people want to search you out, where would they find you on the internet?
So if you Google my name or Google Dog Days Photo, it'll all come up. But I have 3 sites and I wish I wouldn't have spelled days with a Z because it's such a pain in the ass now, but it's dogdaysphoto.com with a Z. So DOGDAZEPHOTO.com, dogdaysphotoart.com. That's where you could buy rock prints. Dogdaysrocks.com. That's the rock and roll stuff. And luminproject.com, and Lumin spelled with an I, so LUMIN project.com. But if you Google Lisa Siciliano, which is just Sicilian with an O, it should all come up, hopefully. Or you can link it under your link or however you do this, because there's a lot.
I'll make sure that all that's on the information.
Thank you. One day I'll have a landing page that's just my name, and then you can go to all the different sites. That's the goal.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. was awesome. I'm going to look you guys up now. Now I'm curious. So you're going to get research tonight.
Now I got to work on my website.
Oh my God.
Thing. My website is horrible right now.
Got some time.
Looks like we're going to be busy tonight. No.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Full all-nighter.
Well, this has been an absolute joy for me. And when all this craziness ends and we can be socially close again, we'll when I'm down there, we'll come and
I would absolutely love that
time with you.
Yeah, that would be so fun.
And it'd be fun to do a follow-up, to see where we're at like a year from now or whatever, and just to see like how people have
absolutely
readjusted.
I would love that. So thank you guys so much. That was a really pleasure being on.
Fantastic. Well, for the Tenet Podcast, this is Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.